I that is something I. By the way, okay, boys, just okay. I just went live. So stop saying the N
Oh.
word. Um,
Oh, okay, cool. And
and
no one
Remington,
say where you work and
I don't
dox
want.
yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it about the Jews again. But no, I. Oh wait, Remington. Sorry, it's not recognized as the mic for some reason. I'm managing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh. No, yeah, like I think about that all the time. Like, oh, what? Honestly, and this is gonna sound so corny, but doing YouTube is what like keeps me going.
Yeah.
It's like a hobby
And
thing that
that's
you
good.
can
No,
work
for sure.
towards, and like, it,
That's yeah.
yeah, like you can build towards something, and like it's the creative element
Yeah.
gets it out of my system, and so no,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's my thing. I'm not doing anything to engage myself creatively like whatsoever anymore, and it's just like kind of getting to me. But also, like also I'm like strapped for cash these days. But we'll I don't know. We'll see. He's having microphone issues. I don't know what that's about.
oh yeah, no, yeah, it's
So,
hard to yeah, it's hard to like I've thought about like how I set up like my YouTube channel for years, like how, because it's like you got to make time for it, you gotta
yeah,
I mean
yeah.
obviously um I don't have like a girlfriend or a or a kid or
Ooh,
a
ooh,
life,
cold.
so I got more time to do that.
Yeah, I mean that is true. Like I'm very like when it comes to like life, like where I'm in life, like I'm technically more like farther ahead than you, even though like I'm not, but
I mean you
like if you're
are.
checking off the like yeah, but like if you're checking off like house, kid, wife, like I'm done, I did it. Like what do I do now?
Yeah, it's just
And that
kind of
is
like,
something that
yeah,
what's
no,
up?
go ahead, no, go ahead.
No, and that is something that I like had like I kind of still do, but like before or like live and or just like venting.
Yeah, dude, who
I'm
cares?
just, let me light a cigarette while I'm at it. Just
This
like
is
yeah,
the
so like
this
just
is the parasocial part of the content.
have you seen? It's my favorite Simpsons gag ever. Classic Krusty.
Yes, you've talked about this. Yes, I know classic where
It's
he's
my
with the
favorite
cigarette.
Simpson gag. He's like, classic Krusty, and it's like 1981, and he's like talking about like global, like the global economy.
Yeah.
It's so good. Um,
Uh,
it feels like no, but like I have had that like like I have my house, I have my kid and my wife, like I've had that thing of like what do I do now, like like I feel like I'm like is this it, like I guess it's just like feeling unfulfilled or whatever, I don't know. um
no, I get it. I mean, if that's what you wanted in life, like a family, a house, like you did it. Like, like you're basically, I feel like doing so much better
yeah,
than a lot of other people.
yeah, like
But
yeah, no, like I did, but it's like I think it just comes with everyone. Like I had a conversation with the comic shop owner about that because he's also like married, as a kid, has a house, and he's like yeah, he's like it's like a thing that kind of like happens to you. It's kind of like what do I do now? Like
right,
I need goals, I guess. I don't know. That's not being fair to a lot of like aspect. Like a lot of my time is dedicated to just being a parent, and like I do love it, and it is it takes up like all of my time,
yeah, no, well, I know
which is like
that was really hard when I was with my ex. Was basically like I wanted to do, like, I spent so many years trying to, because it does cost money to do certain hobbies, obviously, like
yeah,
get a
yeah.
computer. I have to pay annually for my editing software, like, but once I have it, like
That's
all of the
you,
equipment,
you
I have it.
yeah.
Like it's never going
You really
away.
have to pay annually. You have to pay annually for editing software. You can't just like buy software anymore. Like just you own. Oh god, it's all licenses now, isn't it?
Yeah, everything is.
Actually, speaking of, yeah, dude, no, for sure. So fucking I don't know if you saw like PlayStation Network was like down last Friday. I don't know if you saw about that.
I did see that.
Um, so I once I had my kid, I kind of really shifted towards like single player games. Like I used to play only like multiplayer with my friends, like Call of Duty, like Halo, like that was like 95% of my gaming, just like my buddies and I playing video games together.
Yeah,
And then I had a kid, so I'm like, well, I'm not gonna have time. So I bought a, that's why I switched to PlayStation because PlayStation famously has a lot more single player games, and that's kind of just what I do now. Really, I just play single player games. So I saw the network was down, and I'm like, oh well, it doesn't affect me. Once my kid's in bed, I'll just play my game. So I personally do prefer to buy physical media, like for video games still, but I do have a few that are downloaded, right? Because
Right.
we all have,
Hmm.
Well, Dan, since the network was down, I couldn't play my single player game that I downloaded. You know why?
That's insane.
You know why, Dan? Can you guess why?
Well,
You could
no.
probably you could probably guess why.
Well, if it's downloaded and the network's down, I don't just
It
this.
still needs to go be online to verify the license of the game.
Hmm.
Isn't that some bullshit?
Yeah, that is fucked up. No, no, dude, I know. That's why like people it's the whole media thing. That's the scary. That's
Yeah.
an example. I didn't
Yeah.
think about that because I was like, why is everyone freaking out that the network's down? I don't get it. Like, does that mean they can't access the store? I didn't really.
Well, like people who like want to play online couldn't. Like people who want to play COD or like Marvel
Right.
Rivals, like that's one thing. So yeah, so I'm sitting there thinking like, well, this isn't gonna affect me. I'm not on Marvel Rivals. I don't even have the newest COD. Like I'm just playing single player games. So I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, I could still play I'm playing Fallout 4 because it's a single player game. No, literally, I can't even go online because the network's down, and it even says like, since you're offline, like you can't verify your license. Now you can like set your PlayStation to like offline mode,
Mm.
but you have to like enable that. And I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing you have to do because back when I had my Xbox 360 and I had Xbox Live, like you could just pop disc in, like it's just like a downside to like downloading games. I have heard too, like when you download a game digitally, like you don't actually own it. You're just like allowed to use the license or some shit. Like the only way to truly own the game is to buy it physically, and it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, it's
Like,
kind of
what are we doing?
it's the only risk of digifying everything, which I think is traditionally pretty good. It has a lot of benefits, but yeah, unfortunately, it's the whole like with lost media thing, you know.
Yeah.
You can own something on Apple. You can actually own something on iTunes, like if you buy a movie and download it, or like YouTube.
Mhm.
I've bought movies on YouTube that I have through my YouTube
Yeah,
account.
like you have the files.
But if
Yeah.
that file ever gets taken off of YouTube, they can just do that, and then
Wait, what do
then
you
I
mean?
lose it.
Wait, what do you mean? Like,
So
what do you
like
mean? Like,
I purchase the movie on YouTube, and I only can
yeah,
watch it on YouTube, like a
on
YouTube video.
YouTube. Yeah.
So
Okay.
if they ever decided somehow to just forever, for whatever reason, just to take it off, I would just lose
Yeah.
it, and I'd be out that money. Like it's crazy. Same thing with
Is
iTunes.
that?
People have talked about that
Yeah.
before.
Well, when iTunes was first a thing, like when you would buy a song, you'd have the file, right? Like, wouldn't you have you would have the file on your computer, right?
I don't I don't know. I don't
I
think
don't
so.
remember.
I don't. That's a
It
good
was still,
question, maybe. But
huh? But yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a downside to
yeah,
digital world we've created. I couldn't even play my video games because I'm like, what the fuck? Because I can't code chill. And I remember that was like a thing with like I remember when the Xbox One, like what was it, like it was gonna check that you're online every 24 hours, and it was like a huge thing, like a lot of backlash. It still happened. It still fucking happened one way or the other. Like all the outrage and backlash we ever experienced doesn't matter. Companies are just gonna go ahead and do it a year later anyway.
yeah, of course. Um,
Worse. Is that our boy?
looks like it.
It says he's muted on mine. What about you? Like, do you see how he has like the mute icon?
Yeah. Oh,
Can he even hear us?
probably
Text
not.
text him text him on the phone on our iMessage.
I mean,
Can you at least hear us when you join? So you know what I've been talking to like every day, Dan?
who?
Jason.
Oh yeah,
Just
about
like about basketball, like every day we'll just like text each other. It's really fun.
Yeah,
And
he's
then
great.
you know Joel, right?
Yes.
So when I'm sure you saw this because I was talking about it, the big Luka Doncic trade happened. um, Joel added Jason and I added me and another friend to a chat. Christian, Christian, and I'm like, wait, hold on. I was like, I have to get my boy in here then if we're gonna talk about this. And I added Jason, so now Jason and Joel and I are just like in a sports group chat.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, I love Jason. He's like the best part of like, Dan, I love you, but Jason's probably the best thing that happened to me out of our friendship.
Oh, of course. He is great. No, he's amazing.
No, like,
he's
so good.
And he legitimately has, like, because of his energy and his nature, like, he has more friends than all of us. He has so many friends.
And he like generally like just like likes everything, so he can talk to anyone about everything. Like he loves sports, he loves anime, he loves movies, he loves like video games, like he loves everything.
I know.
It's so good.
That's why him and I are perfect from each other, just except the sports part.
Yeah, but you're not like an anti-sports, like you'll watch them.
Yeah. Hold on. Remington, well, worst case scenario, you don't have to use the mic.
Well, I wouldn't have to. Oh, like he can use like the built-in mic. Oh, he can use his phone if he absolutely has to, right?
Well, it sounds like it's just his mic that's not connecting.
Yeah, so like for us, it shows that it's like muted. Interesting.
Wait a minute, sorry.
What?
Have you restarted it? Yeah. Yeah, I think the issue he was having is with his microphone. I don't think it was with his...
No, I know.
Yeah, I don't know. But
well, you see the message. He says that it says need to enable the mic in Chrome. He's not on Chrome unless his like computer's like running it in the background or something.
Yeah, well, that's his first mistake. Who the fuck doesn't use Chrome, Remington?
Yeah, I'm using Chrome.
Yeah, who doesn't use Chrome?
How's the Gorge? What the hell is this?
Hmm?
Man, what's the Gorge? What movie? Is that a show? Is that a movie?
Haven't heard of it.
Oh, I think I saw about this. Is that Anya Taylor-Joy? She has like black hair in it.
I have no idea. Is that a thing?
I'm on IGN. Oh, Invisible Season 3 is playing. I should Invincible. Okay, what is this? Sci-fi action movie. That's Anya Taylor-Joy. And Miles. What?
What? Where is this?
Apple TV Plus. Directed by the guy Scott Derrickson, who did like Doctor Strange, right? It's it's Miles Teller, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Sigourney Weaver.
Is this... Wait, it's called Gore? Gene, I think you're breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, you're cutting out there a little bit. Oh no, Gene, I think I'm losing you.
It's
Oh, there you go. Okay, okay, you're back.
Okay, am I here?
Yes, you're here. All right, you're good. Sorry, that was... Yeah, you were like...
All right. Yeah, it's called The Gorge.
Oh, The Gorge.
Yeah, it's on Apple Plus. It's like Sigourney Weaver, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Miles Teller.
Huh, haven't heard of this at all. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm just popped on IGN for a second, and I saw about it.
Anya Taylor-Joy, wow, and Sigourney Weaver, too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
It's by Scott Derrickson, who did Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
I think the
Apple
first one.
Apple TV Plus, their whole thing is like trying to get into original content is they dump like fuck tons of money into these movies.
Yeah.
And try to get huge stars. I mean, they got Killers of the Flower Moon, so that was a win for me. But
I mean, they have Jason Segel and Harrison Ford on Shrinking. Like,
yeah, I gotta watch that.
Ford doesn't. I don't think Ford is cheap.
No. I gotta get on that Severance show. Have you seen?
Oh, dude, me too. Everyone's talking about how good it is. I know. I want to watch it so bad.
I know. I just haven't made the time, and I'm like,
I know.
I'm like, oh, they're already 2 seasons in, and like, it's like, well, I guess I can.
But there was a pretty big gap between 1 and 2. But like Ben Stiller's like one of like the producers on it. He's always like engaging people on Twitter about it. Like,
I don't know if he's like the showrunner or something. I think he is.
Oh, is he? I know he's like very involved in it, which is like cool to see. But yeah, everyone says like legitimately the best show on TV right now. So
I know. And when there's when a show gets that much hype, I'm like, all right, I should probably hop on this. Ooh, do we have life?
Right.
Do we have life?
It still says he's muted for me.
I know. No.
Ooh. Edge?
Ooh.
Edge? What?
I know.
What?
Microsoft Edge, there's your problem.
Oh my god, Remington, what are you doing to me?
Dude, I'm sorry. I don't care about like anything going on with Kanye anymore. I just don't.
Oh yeah, dude, no.
It's
Dude, he was selling like a Nazi like a swastika shirt. What are you doing, man?
But it's kind of like obviously all of it's for attention or something, and it's kind of like he does the thing. He's been doing this for years now, where he'll go away for a few months, then when he wants more attention, he'll pop back up and do something crazy. But it's like you already had the Nazi arc. Like you can't do that same arc again. Like it's hack racism. Like he's not even.
You know what the energy I got from it was, because I don't know. I don't want to try to like rationalize Kanye, but what I took from it was he was just very much like you can technically say whatever you want. Like, here, watch. I am Hitler. I love Hitler. I am God. Like, clip that, Dan. Clip that, just me just saying that, and then get me canceled. Like, I think that was just like his whole point, that you can say whatever you want. Like, yeah, you can, sure, but like the way you're doing it, you sound like a edgy 15-year-old.
There is absolutely no method to his madness.
No, there isn't. But it to me, gave off the energy of like someone, or like maybe even like a 13 or 14-year-old who has a realization, like, I can say whatever I want on the internet.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean, yeah, dude, because like, but like, yeah, if you're 13, I guess, and like if you realize, and you know, like if you're like a 13-year-old kid who just like wants to be edgy because you're 13 and you think you know everything. And that's the energy I got from it, you know?
Yeah, I just...
Like he's just trying to be, like, shock value, like... And like, that's why I don't think it's, like, worth even engaging it anymore. Like, I had a similar thought about, when Trump blamed DEI wokeness on the plane and the helicopter colliding. I was listening to one of my news podcasts, and the person said, it's like, you know, what's striking is that the way that he said that. And I'm sitting there like, it's not striking. This is just what he does. Why is it striking? This is not surprising whatsoever. This is just what he says and does. Why are we surprised by this? Like, and I think that's the issue. Like, we need to stop being surprised by it, because this is just what is expected of these people.
Kind of, but it's also fuck. I almost disagree, because I feel like we shouldn't normalize it. You know, he's been normalized now. Like, if anyone said half of the shit that he gets away with, it would be like, I don't think.
I think what's bad about it is that there's no react. Like, I'm not saying like maybe like yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, you shouldn't normalize it, but like, I mean, no one's doing anything. There's no accountability. There's no consequence anymore. So.
I know. I'm pretty doomerist at this point. Folks,
Yeah.
it looks like we have 2 people watching live. Hello. Drop a comment, drop a
Ooh,
like.
welcome to the political. We're actually not this political ever.
We're just
having
waiting for Remington to join. We'll be starting soon.
Dan and I are just shooting the shit.
Our boy fucking has Microsoft Edge as his default browser. Wait, hold on.
You know what I started watching yesterday, just because like I haven't watched it in a very, very long time, and I wanted to see like, not that I expected it to hold up, but like I was trying to see like if it holds up whatsoever. The South Park movie.
Ooh.
And what always astounds me about the movie is how early it happened. You know, like I'm sure Matt and Trey. Like I'm sure Matt and Trey, when they were like presented with the like, hey, do you guys want to make a movie? They were like, fuck yeah, we do, because like, you know, I'm sure at the time they probably thought like this show's gonna run maybe like 5 seasons at best. You know, like you never know. I totally get it. You know,
right?
And as you know, they love musicals. The movie's a musical, which I think is a great choice. So it's just like in hindsight, it's like, oh no, this show's gone on for like 20 something seasons or something, and like that movie happened really early in its lifespan. So like watching it, it's like, huh, like I kind of want them to make another movie just to see how they would do it now, because like it's not a bad, like it's very South Park, sure, and the songs are like fine, but I think like they've gotten so much better musically. Like I'd love to see them do like a, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like they've gotten so much better at their craft.
I think the movie's amazing. I love that movie.
And they're good musicians. Did you watch that Matt Versi like concert they did where like they were playing instruments? Like they're good. They're good musicians. Like they legitimately can play their instruments.
It's kind of a shame that they have like such a beef with Seth MacFarlane, because they're kind of similar in the fact that they both have like that musical taste.
They're animation nerds who love music and show tunes and musicals. Yeah, like it sucks that they don't get along.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely MacFarlane that has a fucking ego on him.
I was gonna say I like Seth, but like it's definitely him. He's very more like Hollywood. Like,
I know, I love him. I love him too, but like, yeah, he's like, you love him so much, but like, you know, he's got a huge, massive ego on him. No,
it reminds me of.
What's that? No, sorry, I'm just.
Oh, I didn't know that. Like, did you know Daniel Tosh and Rob Dyrdek had like a beef for like a little bit? Did you know about this?
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah,
you would know that. I was watching a YouTube video about it. Yeah, I didn't know this, and you know, basically it was like how ridiculousness was the same thing as Tosh.0, but the YouTube video I watched about it really put it down really well too, and Rob Dyrdek has no shame. He said it like. Ridiculousness, like he made it just for the money. Like there's interviews where he's just like, yeah, like he's like, I just made it for the money. Like I don't like. And he's a businessman. You know, it talked about how like Tosh.0, at least like Tosh put like a lot of his like put work into it, and he's trying to make like a good show. Ridiculousness was like, nah, man, I'm just gonna make it as bearable as possible for the fucking paycheck.
Can I tell you how much I couldn't stand Rob Dyrdek?
You didn't like Fantasy Factory?
No, I always hated Rob Dyrdek. He was such a fucking retard. He would always, Gene, he would always fucking talk like such an idiot. And he's like, he always looked like even probably when he was younger at that point during Fantasy Factory, he looked like a 40-year-old man in like his DC shoes and like the flat, and it would always be like, who was the skinny guy on the show?
Oh, it was like his like cousin or something. Yeah.
And like every episode, it was so like that Fantasy Factory, or like he had those reality shows, that they were all so staged and scripted.
He had Robin Big and then Fantasy Factory, yeah.
And like every episode would be like the guy walking into Rob's office and Rob being like, hey man, I got this wild idea. I want to go.
Sound like McConaughey.
I don't know. He just Dyrdek. I swear to God, he would like put on this voice. He didn't speak with like his actual. He like practice his cadence. I don't know. It was so fake. Like this.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it. And he'd be like, I wanna I want to jump off of a 16-foot building, and then the other guy would be like, "Oh man, Rob's crazy. He's going crazy today." And it's like, what? This is so
It's
fucking
like he wanted to be he wanted to be Bam Margera so bad.
Yeah, do coke and heroin and like beat your wife or something, like a real entertainer. God damn it.
Do you know about Viva La Bam?
A little bit. I was never big on like a lot of
Skater, like subculture stuff. Yeah,
I was and I wasn't. I was never a huge reality show guy. I mean, I love Jackass. What did I watch? I did like I mean, that stuff was early 2000s.
this is middle school. This is middle school for like both of us.
Yeah, no, I was never a big like reality show person at that point.
I wasn't either, but like when I moved to like where the area we live in, like when I moved up here, like all my people I befriended here, they were into like skateboarding and Bam Margera. So I was like, yeah, I want friends. I want like the things my friends like, you know, like I want to impress these people that I just met. So that's how I got into like Bam Margera and stuff and like Tony Hawk.
Yeah, no, that stuff. Maybe I was just a little too young for it, or it just missed me, or I was just still into like anime and cartoons and shit at that point. But
is he using his like work computer or something?
I think he is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he definitely is.
But I mean, I watched a ton of cartoons too, dude. But like, I did watch like I think Viva La Bam was like the only like live action thing I watched.
Yeah, just the
wait, the microphone icon's gone. It's no longer muted. Oh, he's loading. Are we?
Can I talk?
Wait.
Can I talk? He's joining, I think.
One second.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there he is.
1 second. I did something stupid. 1 second. I fixed it. I just have to unfix it.
We can hear you.
You sound great. I'm picturing like Remington's cameras off, and just the way he said that, like, wait, I just did something really stupid, and then just flash his camera on, like his arms on fire, and he's like trying to put it out. Like, I don't know why.
Nice.
Wait, here we go.
Oh, there he is. Oh, wait, no, he's gone again.
No, why did it turn off?
Oh,
there we go.
Hello.
There we
Good.
go.
Handsome.
There's
Are
that
you recording
blazer.
still?
Yes, we're live.
Yeah. We just been
Can you
shooting
go on
shit.
live so I can yell about this for a little bit?
Yeah, hold on, wait. All right, folks, we'll be right back. Hold on.
And can you put like a thing like when Twitch streamers, like when they're like when you're like in the lobby waiting for them to start streaming, it's like a thing.
Wait, I can do a be right back thing. That's a good idea. I do have a be right back.
Yeah.
Wait, let me just make sure.
I don't know what those are called, but you know how like when a streamer like bro.
Okay, we're
He
back.
said his full government. We weren't live, obviously, but like,
Yeah.
Do you think your job could ever be taken by AI?
Oh yes, absolutely,
absolutely not. Mine can't.
Oh,
Mine can't.
go on live again because I have a specific story about. I have
All
a
right, hold on.
specific-
We'll be right back. Hold on.
Talk to people
All
and
right.
like gather their documents. A lot of my clientele are old people on like Social Security who like they're not gonna talk to a fucking robot.
Yeah.
You know, they'd be like, no, let me talk to a human. And then half the time, since they're like old and they have like no friends and live unfortunately very lonely existences, they start like they start thinking about their lives and venting to me about their problems. And I'm like, listen, I get it, but I also need to know what you're calling me about. Like, what is going on? Like, why are you calling me? Are you here to? Are you applying?
like-
are you recertifying? What's going on?
So like in my experience, and granted it's a little self-selecting because my mode of communication with the retirees is solely online because I run a live chat. But
yeah.
in my experience, so it's a little self-selecting. In my experience though, they do hate online. They are willing to try it if it is actually easier and if they think it could be easier. Since they know like, oh, if it works, then it's really fast, and they know that. It's just that like again, like I told you, like the system was designed in mind for the old people of tomorrow, not the old people of today, and so it just it's going to screw over the old people of today, and so like they're trying to do like these basic tasks, and it requires them to flip through a bunch of different like pages and menus and select the right option, but like if they can barely understand step one, how are you going to get them to step two when there's like a huge decision tree to get there? Like it's just it's so annoying. And I feel for them. So like yeah,
I had to walk like on the phone, walk a client who had an iPhone because I asked her, and I'm like, okay, I have an iPhone. I'm gonna walk you through how to attach attachment to your email and send it to me, like how to attach a photo to your email and send it to me. And I just like walked her through it. But like I get it, like yeah, and it's
oh yeah, I had to teach an old person how to like copy and paste once.
Yeah, like my clients, like they know how to use a phone. Like they can make a phone call and they can answer questions,
Yeah,
sure. And
because
then
they make smartphones that are like user friendly for like the older folks now. Like that's what Jitterbug is. Like
yeah. But like when I need documents from old people, I just tell them, just I'm gonna mail you. You know what the USPS is. I'm gonna mail you an envelope with a ready to go return envelope. You know how to do it because you've been doing that your whole life.
It,
yeah.
But then like if I see someone who's like, okay, birthday from like the 70s on, you know how to use an email. Email me your freaking documents. So I do try to make it easier on them because I'm like, I'm not gonna. I have a lot of clientele who are born in the 40s, and I'm just like, I'm not even gonna have them take a picture with their cell phone. It's gonna be the worst picture you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's always
Yeah.
fun because there's a specific thing they have to do where because they're old, we will periodically randomly selected. Periodically they will be sent a like an audit thing to see if they're still alive. So that way we make sure we're not just like spamming the void with checks with people's money. And so as part of like verifying that they're alive, there's like it's like a packet of things they have to send in. But one of them includes a picture of them holding a newspaper. It's always like really funny looking at like some like hostage situation in like an old movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of old movies,
yeah. Welcome everyone to Eyes Wide Watch Club. I am I'm Dan Ivy here with my boys. We're back. We're here for another great episode. Hello, gentlemen. We just had a 40-minute intro. Hope y'all enjoyed the little
we
parasocial.
had Coach Remington had technical difficulties.
That's right. And then
Yes,
when
the gods of Google Chrome were conspiring against me.
And then when he got on, we had to pause a few times because Remington had to do an off-the-record rant about the Jews that we won't get into and won't be repeated here.
Yeah.
You know the 14 words?
Yeah.
God.
6 million.
Oh my
Well, anyway, tonight we are talking about, for February, I picked
I just thought of a joke. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. What is the year of this movie? It is 1975?
Yeah, 75, 76.
Or 1976 movie directed by Sidney Lumet. Network. I'm gonna be honest, I just finished watching this last night. I wish I had time. I didn't have time to write down. I didn't have time to write down a dossier. Usually I watch the movies twice. This is an example.
And it's your pick.
I know. I really wanted to watch this one twice and take a lot of notes because this is a dense ass movie, but I just didn't have the time. So I feel like I'm not nearly as prepared as I should be, especially for a movie like this. So I apologize in advance. But yeah, so this is essentially about the character Howard Beale.
Yeah.
It's two newscasters and a woman who's an executive or something like that, played by Faye Dunaway. And basically, there's like all these different storylines going on. It's about it's about a lot of things. It's about media, the sensationalization of the news. Like storytelling in media, the power of media. Yeah.
I have to move downstairs real quick.
Oh yeah, sure.
Maya's having trouble going to sleep, and I guess like she can hear me, so I'm just gonna mute myself. But you'll see me just walk through my house.
Okay, that's fine. But yeah, so I've never seen it before. It's been on my watch list for a long time because I've only seen 12 Angry Men before. I've never seen any other of Sidney Lumet's movies, but I know he's a legend, and I've just heard so many cinephiles specifically talk about this movie, so I've always wanted to see it. But yeah, so that's kind of the introduction. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fucking amazing. It's kind of like when I was watching this movie, I was kind of reminded of 12 Angry Men in the sense that that was a movie that was so revolutionary because it's all just people in one room, right? And it's one of the most compelling movies ever because always being studied because it's such a compelling movie that's just men talking in a room. And so what I noticed with this movie is it's his dialogue, man. This guy's dialogue is like catnip for any serious actor that wants a really meaty role. I mean, I feel like this movie could basically be a play. Very, very theatrical in a lot of the sense to me, but yeah, for me this was fucking amazing. There's so much to talk about with it, I feel like, especially when we get into conversations maybe towards the end of how this relates today. But yeah, so anyway, that's Network. That's my intro. What did you boys think about it? Tell me your
Wait,
experience.
before that, let me grab my laptop charger. I don't want this thing to die.
Okay,
It'll take like a minute, Remy.
I mean, I'll go while you do that. Is what I was going to
Okay, do that.
All right. So anyway, yeah, no, I also really like this movie. I had not seen it before you picked it. I believe the only Sidney Lumet film that I had seen was 12 Angry Men. I think I was similar to you. I had heard of this though only because I am a freak and I regularly peruse the Letterboxd 250 to see where there are room to grow, so to speak. But yeah, no. So I was like, actually, you know what? I have seen Serpico. That was the other one of his that I've seen. So I want to correct myself real quick there. You should check out Serpico actually if you like Sidney Lumet. But anyway, yeah, no, I like this film a lot. I liked it for a lot of the reasons that you set the stage for it when you were teasing it last episode. So I thought it was really interesting, like commentary on like media and ethics, and I think it obviously couldn't see all of the future, but I do think that it has a lot to offer in terms of a looking glass of like where we've gone and where we're at now, and kind of similar to what you're getting at, Dan. It is a very like actorly movie, and I appreciate that as a former actor, and then two, just like someone who loves a good drama. And the reason that is that the secret sauce to a Sidney Lumet movie is that he comes out of a body. What was the, sorry, my notes are all over the place. 1 second.
Oh, you took notes. That's so sweet. I fucking
not really, but like a little bit. Not really, but like a little bit.
I fucking hate myself. This would have been the movie to do a dossier for. Okay, anyway.
Okay. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so he comes out of a little organization known as the Actors Studio, which was like it was like a membership organization for professional actors and theater directors and playwrights based in Hell's Kitchen. In like the mid 20th century. And so like that's like the secret sauce to all of his movies. He comes from that studio and he casts and works with people who are associated with that studio. So like even 12 Angry Men like has like a sort of play-like quality. Well, that's because it's full of people who come from the Actors Studio. And it carries with that sense of like sensibility. So like not only is it like that, it also has like a sort of, all of his films tend to have like a sort of like New York theater quality to them. Like you could easily imagine these types of stories happening on a stage on Broadway, like off Broadway, but yes. It's very, it carries with it that kind of like tone and flavor with a lot of the movies that he does. And I think this is no exception in that regard. Maybe one's a little bit like bigger in terms of scope.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I haven't looked up the stats, but I think this might be his most successsul film. Like it got like a bunch of Oscar nominations.
Yeah. Won a few as well.
Yeah. So I'd have to double check that. But yeah, definitely very significant. And so yeah, I was a fan. I believe I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. 4.5 out of 5. Sorry. So a lot of fun. What'd you think, Gene?
I was gonna ask if I missed if you like enjoyed it or not. Okay, so you did. Hello. Am I still here? Okay, sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, cool. This one was not for me, boys.
Oh,
I don't know.
what?
There's stuff I like. There is. And there's stuff that I recognize as like this is really well done. like I love the script, I love the dialogue. Like I did like as I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, this is really well written. Like the exposition of dialogue felt very like this is good. This doesn't feel like doesn't feel movie-ish. Like, it's enough like suspension of disbelief, but it's like it's done well. I thought there were some parts that I actually found hilarious, like when the second time they have Beal on air and he's kind of talking about how everything's like bullshit and everything sucks, and someone pops in, they're like, oh, like Hackett's asking to talk to you. He's like, Hackett go fuck himself. I thought that was like that got a great laugh out of me, but like I performances are great, incredible performances. I love them. The cast was stellar, but I think the length bogs it down in a way, at least to me. I did feel it was a little too long. I feel like you could have trimmed. Like I didn't care for the woman exec. I forgot her name. I didn't care for her whole thing with her little like romance subplot. I just didn't care for it. I don't know. I really could not care less about that. Yeah, I didn't care for it. I like the B plot of like, they're kind of gonna be like absorbed by this other like entity because they're kind of like I was in a deficit. Like I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that drama aspect of it. I enjoyed the whole how absurd it starts to get of like he becomes like he goes from a news anchor to just like this like extravagant like 70s host. Like I thought that was great, but I don't know, like I found myself losing focus because I just felt like it started to drag at parts, and again, like I just was so disinterested in the whole like romance subplot that I just didn't care for it. I don't know, this one just wasn't for me, which kind of sucks because there's a lot that I thought was like, yeah, this is well done, but like I feel like you could have trimmed some fat. Like Remington's like the scope of it all. I think the scope maybe was a little too ambitious in a way, which I mean, obviously the Academy disagrees with me, but whatever. So that's my issue. There's things I like, but ultimately I'm just like, I don't know, it's not for me.
Just didn't click. Not for me. Yeah. No, that's fine.
Yeah, it just didn't click. Guys, what do you guys do?
It's funny. I kind of felt the run time, but I almost feel like this is so weird because this movie's only 2 hours long. It's not a particularly long movie.
No, it's not. But like, and maybe I don't know, like Remington. I don't know, like you probably have more experience of like a 2 hour long play. Like I feel like an hour and a half is a good length for a play. This movie felt like a stage production, and I maybe think an hour and a half would have been a little tighter for it. That's just me. I don't know if you probably have a little more experience with theater productions than I do. I feel like you would.
I feel like when I
need to see more 2 hour plays.
when I was looking at the runtime and seeing that like I was only an hour into the movie and felt like I already was through like I already had like a lot of movie. I think that's because it's so dense. Like there's a lot happens. I feel like it's a good, like for me, like this was just my experience. I thought I kept rewinding scenes going, oh my God, that was like a really good fucking scene. Like Jesus. And then, so like, I feel like there's so much to take in this movie. Like every scene is like, there is. I was like, man, when I go to write notes for this, I'm going to have like quotables from every fucking scene, writing down entire monologues. But it's really well written, but it's so dense to it insists upon itself. No, I do think it's a little much. Like like very decadent, like chocolate. Like it's a little much. No,
at least that's what maybe that's why it didn't click with me. I don't know. I don't think it needs to dumb itself down, but maybe just trim some of the fat.
Yeah.
At least I don't know. It didn't click with me for some reason.
So I do think the romantic subplot is defensible on the grounds that it kind of just it is the weaker of the subplots. I don't disagree.
Yeah.
But I do think it's there because you have to one, it adds potency to the idea of like the soullessness of the female exec's character. Where she's on the one hand she does seem like she likes being with William Holden's character, whose name I don't remember,
Shoemaker,
but she is also she's also deeply committed to her work, and her work is like her passion, and so much so that it's actually consumed her soul, ironically. And that's all she is, and that's all she cares about. And so she's pulled between these two things, and her essentially backstabbing him in those arrangements, it adds potency to that, and it also provides an explanation about William Holden's character's his motivations, because you have to explain, okay, so he gets shoved out of the company threatening to like go after them in the court of public opinion, but then he just doesn't. And so the romantic subplot is kind of also there to like fill in those gaps of being like, oh, he's severely distracted, and also like beside himself a little bit. So that's also why it's there, and I do think that might contribute to a bit of its weakness. But I also think that like if you're trying to make a mainstream movie, well, in these days in Hollywood, you usually also throw in a romantic subplot to like
no, for sure. Like I understand its intent, yeah, and like you said, like the way it resolves itself with her, she does ultimately backstab him, and it's and in a way like she did initiate it as like a self-fulfilling prophecy where whatever the gypsy woman said this and this, and it just leads to her. She's a career woman. She chooses her career over everything. Yeah. And I get that, and I do like the way it resolves itself, and when we get to the end, how it leads to the ending as well. I just don't. The journey just wasn't for me, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Like I do think that's one of the stronger.
Do you think that you would like it on rewatch?
Maybe I do. I do want to rewatch it.
Like you let's sit for a while, come back to it however many months or years later. Do you think you could like this?
I probably would, because there's things I did love. Like, the performances were incredible. The writing was so tight. The dialogue was incredible. Like I see, like, as an artistic piece of work, it's incredibly well done. And like you said, it's a great, like, it's kind of it's very stage production-y. Like I think it comes, it translates very well to like a film medium. I love that. I thought it was really well done in that regard. I love the setup. I love the plot. I think it's a very, like, I just love the idea this guy is just like, I'm just gonna fucking kill myself because I gave my all to this job and they're just fucking trying to can me. I'm just gonna kill myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it and do it on the air. Like, I thought it's it's absurdist, and I do think that's great. And there's a lot to be said about we can talk about the themes and all that later on. But again, maybe like it's a little too dense for me. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
it just wasn't your thing. That's fine.
It's a lot of movie. It's a lot of movie for sure.
Yeah, I think I fall more on Dan. Well, yeah, I said I liked it, so of course I fall on Dan's side. But in terms of like the length and pace, I think I fall more with Dan, where it's kind of like, yeah, I definitely feel like by like the halfway mark or the 2/3 mark, it's like, yeah, I've had a lot of movie, and yet this is still going. But to me, it is worth it. Kind of like. So, like, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I actually loved Beau is Afraid 2 years ago.
Me too.
And a lot of people feel like that is a overlong movie. And like, I'm like, no, that journey that throws you around, knocks you about, has a lot going on. Like, it's worth it by the time you get to the place at the end where you just kind of have to sit there and live with that. And that, to me, is like the appeal of this movie, especially with the ending, which we'll get to, and the way you're supposed to just like, let that sit with you. That's an ending, all right. And so to me, it's worth it. So that's why I was kind of wondering, like, do you think a rewatch would improve your opinion? Because you seem to like a lot of the ingredients, but it didn't come together like for you, like it did for me and Dan. So that's what I was curious about.
I mean, yeah, I feel a similar way about Zodiac. Like, it's a lot of movie. There's a lot of parts I really like, and Zodiac had me captivated for like a good chunk of it. And then I think it kind of fizzles out at the end, but that's a Zodiac thing. I don't think this movie fizzles out at the end whatsoever. But it's a similar thing to me. Like, I think we just have like such a dense piece of work. I do think you have to either stick the landing at the ending, which this movie does. I will give it that. It definitely does stick the landing. Or maybe just be a little more mindful of the runtime and just like of how much you're giving your audience. But everyone has their vision. If you want to make a 3.5 hour movie, go for it. I mean, you both watched The Brutalist. Like, go for it, please. Like, do it. And it's and even just pulling that off is a feat in itself. Keeping someone captivated for that long.
Yeah,
Maybe a
it's
rewatch would help for me.
you know what I think you guys are kind of hitting on that that I think is interesting. When we get really long movies today, whether it be like The Brutalist, Beau is Afraid, or even something like Avengers Endgame or something, where they would like big 3 hour, 2.5 hour long movies. It seems like a lot of the structures tend to be like split up into chapters. Like you can take the movie and say, okay, here's this
Well,
first
acts, yeah.
well, acts, but like, okay, like Beau is Afraid, the entire middle section, he takes that entire detour. Like you can categorize the movie as like, oh, this is this. Does that make sense? Like not just necessarily
Yes,
acts,
in
but
episodes.
Like, yeah,
yes.
like they said, oh,
yes.
the first half of Endgame was them doing this. The second half was the time heist. The third half was the big fight. With Network, it's so all of the plot lines, they're so interconnected. Like it's not like that at all. Like and you're
Yeah.
following 3 different characters.
But Network is also only 2 hours long. Like we're describing it emotionally feels long, but its runtime is not actually that long.
right. But maybe that's
yeah.
where it feels a little challenging because every scene is so critical and so dense. Like, oh, but God, did I love it. It scratched an itch, boys, you know, that like we don't get a lot of these days. Like I love a talker. I want a talker, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Oh, it's
Yeah.
called Christopher Nolan
Sure.
movies, Dan.
yeah. Yeah, right.
And I loved Oppenheimer. It's a talker, but like I do love that movie, and like it did. The runtime felt less to me. I don't know. I'm also like I'm a spectacle whore at times. Maybe I just prefer modern
Sure.
movies. I don't fucking know.
Well, like even something
Well, that's why Oppenheimer works, right? Because it is a talker, but it's also building you up to like this big moment that you know is coming.
Yes,
And you're
but he
so
also-
ready.
yeah.
but he also films it like it's a movie trailer. Like he'll have the dramatic like dun 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 music of just guys standing in a room looking at
and
a
listen, and
chalkboard.
Oppenheimer works really well.
It's a
you know,
method to
once
do
you,
it.
Well, once you get the Trinity test, like you look at the runtime, you're like, there's an hour left. What the fuck? And then it really dives into the, then you see like, oh, this is why RDJ got his Oscar. Like, then it kind of really shifts to that whole like the hearings, and who does RDJ play again? Remington, you would know.
He plays the guy.
Levi
He-
Strauss. Something
Yes,
like
Strauss. Yes,
Strauss.
yes.
Yeah.
The guy who was nominated for a cabinet position.
Yes,
and
once
wound up
the
not
movie
getting it.
pivots to like that, and that's the focus, all the aftermath, and him getting questioned by. I know he's done more, but I know him as Jerry West in the Lakers show when he's like questioning Oppenheimer and like he's like grilling him, whatever. And I think that works too.
Oh
but
yeah, he's like Jason Clarke. He's like one
Yes,
of my
Jason Clarke.
favorite actors.
So good.
Like favorite
He's
character actors working right
Yeah.
now.
Dude, he's so
So I
good.
didn't like. So I didn't like the William Friedkin Kane Mutiny court martial movie that he did. It's like a remake of a classic. It's like his last movie too. But Jason Clarke is actually pretty good in that movie, and he has like this one scene at the very end of this movie that's so fucking good that you should watch the movie, which I don't like just for that scene. And also
Jason Clarke is
when I
great,
was
yeah.
first exposed to Jason Clarke was couple years ago on Netflix. I don't know if it was Netflix original or if Netflix just bought it, but he did a Ted Kennedy biopic about Chappaquiddick, where he played Ted Kennedy, and that was really good. He was really good in that.
Sounds really good. Yeah, I don't know. He's in Devil All the Time. That's interesting. Okay, look at that. He's also in Dawn Little Planet of the Apes. He's not bad in that actually.
Yeah. Anyway, to circle back to the movie
go
we're
back to
actually
it,
talking
yeah.
about. What is this?
We can talk about Jason Clarke some other time. Jason Clarke, you're great if you ever watch this. To pivot back, yeah. Well, I want to touch upon the chapters thing. I mean, we'll get to that, but so. Okay, yeah, but like I said, I do love the absurdism. Like I do love when it leans into that. I think that's all great. I mean, hell, like the beginning when they're what is it? It's Beale and he's talking. I forgot who. And like they're outside. It's nighttime, and he's telling him about his like, I'm gonna go on the air. I'm gonna kill myself. And like it's kind of like being played off. I was like, oh, you're not. You're just fucking around. Like it's like right off the bat, it hooks you. Like I and that drew me in. Like okay. I'm in because I did go into this blind. I don't know if either of you did. I truly had no idea what the movie was about, which I'm glad I went into it blind. Like I had no idea like that. It was like you see the network and like the poster. I'm like okay, I think I knew it was about like a newsroom or whatever. I didn't know that what sets it off is like, oh, he just goes on air and kind of loses his mind, and that culminates in, oh, what is the phrase they're shouting when they're watching the show? Like, I'm
mad
pissed
as
off.
I'm mad
hell.
as hell, and I'm not going to take
Yeah,
it
whatever.
anymore.
Yeah,
So that's
like,
actually the only way that I actually knew about this movie prior to Dan, other than like the letterbox thing, which I had mentioned before. So like, as you know, I grew up in a right wing bubble, which meant that I grew up with a lot of Fox News, and Fox News loves that quote. Like
oh
unironically,
my
they often will
god,
broadcast that quote, specifically during like the Tea Party
really
era.
cool.
Not as much
Oh
now, but
god,
like
yeah,
that's like the ethos. They think the ethos of their demographic is, which is the whole like I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
yeah. It's very
Essentially, like
populist. Yeah,
yes.
yeah, it's very
Not
populist.
realizing the irony that they are doing the thing that the movie is criticizing by doing that. But that's just conservatives for you. But we can get into that once we start discussing like the themes and such as we go
I was gonna
along.
say
But yes,
there's a lot
I
to dig
knew
into that.
I knew that quote. I knew that line, and I knew the image, the brief image of him like yelling it. And that's
Yeah.
like the one big thing I knew from this movie. Before that, and also I don't know about you guys, but I have like a very neurotic brain. So like when I'm watching the film, I get like immediately very curious about things that are happening. So I keep pausing to like look things up and read about things and understand
Yeah.
things. And so it winds
Yeah.
up the 2 hour movie winds up taking like 4 hours, and it's a fucking nightmare. But yeah, so reading as I go essentially.
What topically was happening at the time? Yeah, and they talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, they talk about the oil crisis. They kind of touch upon that. They talk about more like 1970 civil rights, and yeah, like it's
Well, specifically, it's disputed, but specifically, one big inspiring event that went into like the making of this. Again, it's disputed, but there was actually, if I can find it, there was like a specific incident relating to the whole like I'm gonna go kill myself on air thing. If I can find it. It's like a very infamous event in like early broadcast television history. Where can I find this? Yes, the on-screen suicide of Christine Chubbuck, who was a
Okay.
news reporter for a television station in Sarasota, Florida. She killed herself in 1974. She was the first person to die by suicide on a live television broadcast. She shot herself in the head with a gun during WXLT TV's Suncoast Digest after claiming the network was about to present an exclusive coverage of a suicide attempt.
Oh my God.
It was then later confirmed
shit.
that she added the quote in her script, making the action premeditated. It's long been speculated that the movie is inspired by that incident, though everyone involved has denied it. But that was like that would have been a thing that was on your mind if you went in to see that movie about that specific suicide.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few references to Watergate, like, very obvious reference to Watergate in the movie.
Yeah,
There's
so
a
this
scene
came
they
out
talk
in
about,
'75.
like,
Nixon would have resigned like
Yeah.
the year before, from
Yeah,
Watergate.
this is like literally the midst of Watergate,
Post Watergate. But yeah, it's within the aftermath, basically.
Okay,
The immediate
sure.
aftermath.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, like he hadn't resigned yet, but which, in hindsight is a imagine resigning over that nowadays. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
I know. But yeah.
Anyway,
So to get into so I guess the best way to structure this is we have like the three main characters, right? It's following these three main characters, Howard Beale and Max Shoemaker, who they're basically they're old-timey news buddies, they're friends for years, been on the air for years. And then Howard finds out that he's going to be fired by the network. He does the nightly news, and he has like his own show. And then, just says to Max, I'm going to kill myself. And then he's like, nah, come on, Howard. This is going to be me and Gene at a bar in like 50 years. Basically, like Howard just snaps and has this breakdown on the air saying he's going to kill himself. it's funny when he was giving his rant, and this is, I don't want to get too far ahead, but just it was funny listening to his rants overall. They're very
Grinds my gear rant.
they're
Yeah.
very kind of nebulous and empty. Did you guys get that too? Or is it like they're kind of just platitudey, like grandstanding, like, oh, the man is keep at first, at least. Does that, maybe? Or do you think there's something more there?
Well, I
let me
mean-
introduce you to populism, Dan. It's what elected our current president twice. So
Yeah.
Well, so like his initial rant, like when he's just announcing that he's going to be terminated, is I think that's just more just like he's emotional, right? So he's just like saying stuff. And then his initial broadcast, I think when he says the "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore" line, that's also really emotional because again, that's like raw and real and like connected to that specific moment. But the monologues once he gets his own show, yes, and I'm not sure what inspired that. But to me, I was specifically reminded, again, growing up in a right-wing bubble, I was like, oh, this is like every Fox News talk show that ever existed, where they literally will have like a little in-studio audience right there, like on bleachers, and someone will walk around and they'll offer these like fake little angry platitudes, and then usually they'll cut to someone playing country music. But yeah, this is Glenn Beck, this is Bill O'Reilly, this is Greg Gutfeld, this is a lot of like actually what after Glenn Beck left Fox News and started running his own television channel, The Blaze. That's a lot of what they're programming like. That's what the Daily Wire Plus is like now. That's like what it's getting at in its ethos. I believe this is technically set in prime time, but it has like a daytime television feel where like they've all gathered for the show and they're all fans of his, and he can say whatever he wants because they love him, and he gets them all riled up because there's a mission there, and because he's just saying stuff. It might not necessarily connect, but it's all very angry and it's all very finger pointy in various directions.
And it's kind of like oh god, I don't want to like skip ahead too much to get into all of this, but like there's so much there, but like like you were saying, it's the Fox News stuff. It's basically like, be fearful of, you should be mad and angry and scared of this, and here's what, you know what I mean? It's just, you're just pointing the finger and like, be mad at this thing, or like, be afraid of this thing. Like, there's garbage in the streets, and that, what does this man dying have to do with the price of rice? Like, but there's this funny like hypocrisy, and I feel like this is something that you would see on like a Fox News or something like that today, where they'll say like, the media is telling you this, the media is doing that, the media is lying to you about this, and it's like, wait a minute, you're Fox News. You're the biggest mainstream news channel. You are the media. Like, what why are you, what is this, like, separation that, like, you are holier than thou? Like, and, like, retards will just eat it up. Like, oh, no, like that was kind of the funny thing, and it ended up kind of being a funny contradiction in the case of Howard, where it's like, he's even to the point where he's, like, trashing the network that is hosting him, you know? Like, he never has that like contradiction in his mind, but I don't know.
Not to be the friend that's too woke, but if we could not use the R word.
Sorry.
Not to be scoldy, but this is one particular battle that I'm not ready to cede yet. In the
Okay, all
culture
right.
war.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I concede. I apologize. Just slips sometimes.
It's okay. We're talking off the cuff. It's all good.
We're just keeping it real. What the hell was I gonna say? So there's a lot there in it. Okay, and then we get Max, who, the other guy who's his friend. You know what's funny? And then like when Howard first starts going off the rails, no one really at the network seems to be like, is he okay? Like, it's mainly everyone just like, what are we gonna do? We gonna keep him on the air or what? Like, no one's like, hey, this man's clearly fucking unwell.
That like early scene where they're just like, you have to get him off right now. And he's like, he's just saying it's bullshit. We all know it's bullshit. Just let him go. Just let him continue. It's no problem saying it's bullshit.
Wait, guys, is he like a widower or divorced? I forgot like what it was exactly. Like they talk a little bit about like his like why he's such a point where like just losing his job would drive him to do that. Like he has like nothing left basically.
Do they say that? I don't remember.
Jonathan still here?
Maybe they did.
I don't
I don't remember either.
Maybe they did.
Well, like, because they do, like he in the beginning he mentions like he kind of has like nothing left. I think he lists off a few things like he has like no family or something. Like he really has like nothing left. Like he's like giving his all to this network.
Yeah, I could believe
And
that.
it just adds to your point, Dan. Like no one even bothers to be like, hey, like are you good? Like, what's going on? You know, like you're kind of lonely. Like it's kind of a point of his character. You know.
And it's funny that now that I think about it, Max, his best friend, arguably the only one that kind of asked him like what's going on, like you're having a mental break, that shows any kind of real concern for him. He's the one that initially just out of this moment of spite and just being like, yeah, fuck the network. He's the one that encourages him and goes, no, keep him on the air. Yeah, when he said, he goes, no, tell him to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
So he's kind of the one that, which was so interesting.
But also people like it. Like they show like people like there are people in the newsroom like who like it. And he's getting his attention, so he's gonna keep doing it. Like even without the attention from the ratings, which is the whole plot point. Like people in the studio like love it, and Beale's gonna eat that up.
Right. It's kind of these two men that are, I don't even know if you can call it, I guess, a midlife crisis, but kind of or a late life crisis.
Yeah.
They're kind of they're both at the ends of their not their lives, but they're feeling. Oh my God, Max had that monologue he has in the end when he's fighting with Faye Dunaway in the apartment before he leaves. Yeah. God, that entire scene was so gold when he basically says like, I'm closer to death now more than life. Like I can see it in tangible ways. Like, so you have both of these two guys that they're basically, they're expressing their midlife crisis or their late life crises in different ways. It's coming out of them in different ways, like where Max is, cheating on his wife and kind of doing the more like traditional like thing that I guess you would do at that age. And you have Howard where he's literally just having a mental break. So that was,
well, I mean, for Beale definitely is. I mean, I don't know if the character's was the same age as the actor, but like, Peter Finch did pass away like 2 months after the movie was released. So I don't know if you saw that, Dan. I don't know if you looked into that.
Yeah,
I did. I think I did see that.
Yeah, he so he died before the Academy Awards too. So he won the award, posthumously. So,
yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I don't know if you like noticed that. Like the movie came out in November 76. He died in January 77.
I think I read something that he had like heart issues while shooting the movie or something.
Yeah, I think he was like generally like in poor health. To understand, I don't know, Remington, if you read about it.
I mean, it's
I didn't read that deeply on it, but I did see that he died.
I mean, it's crazy because those monologues, man. Like that's what I
hit a heart attack. Yeah, hit a heart attack, Dan.
Oh, okay. Like that's what I'm just so impressed by, like the way that these characters are able to express themselves and almost to like this theatrical level. I mean, that ending rant that that Max, the other news guy, gives to Faye Dunaway in the apartment before he leaves her. That's not like, you get to the point where that's not even the way that normal people would talk because it's so eloquent and so thought out and so like poetic and theatrical. Like if someone spoke like that in real life, you would stop them and be like, that was beautifully well said, like, or that was so well articulated. Like all of the characters are like that. But that to me is what is so compelling. Like you would never see that level of dialogue in like your random blockbuster movie, I mean, just the dialogue alone is what makes it so compelling. And obviously, yes, the performances that follow. But so he's having the mental break, and then you introduce like it's going through the different plot points. You then get introduced to Faye Dunaway's character, who I don't think I've ever seen Faye Dunaway in like anything else. I just know her name because I know gay guys love her. But I've
seen her in a couple things now. So she's in like actually before she did this, she with William Holden, she was in the Towering Inferno, which was
Oh,
like this huge blockbuster hit from the 70s, like proto blockbuster, but still, it's a disaster movie,
hmm.
and it's also like was the inspiration for Die Hard, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, it's actually a really cool movie. You should check it out. It's basically about this building, and it's either like LA or San Francisco. I want to say it's LA. And essentially, it's this too big to fail, opulent, massive structure. They said that we couldn't build it, and we did. And it turns out we really shouldn't have built it because it's a massive fire hazard. We all can't escape or get out now. And so it's a disaster movie. So like the whole movie is them trying to get out. And so anyway, during filming, um, William Holden and Faye Dunaway were heavily at each other's throats. They hated each other. So there was a lot of drama
wow.
going into production of this film, saying like, "Oh, was this a bad casting choice? Like should we have done this? Because like, are they going to murder each other?
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah." And then the other thing that I recently saw Faye Dunaway in is I recently watched Chinatown, and she is like the romantic interest in Chinatown.
I forgot about her in Chinatown, right? Yeah. So we get introduced to her character. Now, I'm a little confused. I just like I guess her job, she's just an executive or like an up and coming executive. Does that sound about right? I don't know if they ever like really specified. She wants Max's job. Is that part of it? Kind of.
Um,
I
I,
don't.
I don't know if she wants his job. She is like very like career driven. So she's like promotion hungry. But she already runs a department of her own. That's like because there's like all those people like reporting to her. I think she runs the entertainment division. Actually, I think is the name of her area. And so she's like desperate for a good show. Right. She has that whole little speech where she's just like, I want by the end of the year to have at least one show that's in like the top 10 ratings. One show. And she's like, everything that you're pitching me does not meet the current zeitgeist, does not meet the current moment. So we just need one show, and that's what she's bloodthirstily driven to accomplish here, which eventually, of course, leads her to creating the Mao Zedong Hour. But
Yeah.
as I'm sure we will get into. But yes, very interesting character.
Yeah, no, it's and sometimes I wonder like uh, I wonder maybe because well, not to let's put it this way. I saw a lot of my ex in this person. But
Oh no!
maybe maybe
Oh no.
Oh, buddy!
Oh
no,
no.
no, it just made I was like no, I was like
Oh.
this is realistic. I mean like no, I the only reason I say that is because I feel like I can see maybe not just that, but like I've known people like that in my life.
No, but now that you made that connection, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yes. But
Oh fuck.
but anyway, but no,
Uh,
it's interesting. I don't know, it's like maybe like just in that back in the 70s, maybe like these women in a lot of ways felt that they had to be really savvy because they're in like a men's world, so they need to be like career savvy and demand that respect. And I don't know, it's always like the socio-political nature of it is interesting to me, like, but yeah, no,
Yeah, it's a little bit of she's a little bit of a stereotype of a career woman, right? Where she's just like where it's
Yeah.
kind of she a little bit says it and it's a little bit insinuated where it's kind of just like, oh, no men want to date me, so I guess I just have to be really good at my job. It's kind of like
Well,
the
it came
old
out very
adage about like,
70s too.
yeah, it's kind of like the
Like
old adage
very
of
much
like,
like
oh,
yeah.
lesbians only exist because they're ugly or something, so like yeah, it's kind of that a little bit. So
Yeah.
definitely has like some 70s gender relations sensibilities about it. Because this is the 70s, so this actually having a woman in that level of power is actually very rare. We're kind of
No, yeah,
proceeding.
for sure.
We're actually proceeding like when the wave of like women entering the upper echelons of corporate America was becoming more common, which was like the 80s and the 90s when that was starting to really
I was
take
very
shape
surprised to
more.
see that her character was in that role. Yeah, especially since
Yeah.
it's, I'm assuming, set in 74, 75.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, there's definitely some
yeah,
conversation on gender there, especially when contrasted with William Holden's actual wife, and the way that she goes about handling his late life crisis.
she's
That
just
we
like a
can get into.
homemaker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like her thing is like, which is also like the standard like classic like homemaker line, which is just like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I know you cheat around, but at least like give me the dignity to like let me like, do you love her? Like, give me a fucking straight answer here.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Um, but just to touch back on like, yeah, like the vibe I got from Christensen's character was like, she's in a role that is very rare for that time. So just like the sense of like, she knows that all these dudes are gonna not take her seriously, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's funny. Toots, get me some coffee," And you can, you can tell in all like, well, I think all the secretaries and all the like the assistants are all women, right? Like you see that all over the movie. People just, it's like all these women getting coffee and all that, like, all that, secretarial work. So
she's also not
she,
dismissed at all in the movie. Actually, she
no,
is
she's
actually
not.
treated as an equal, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Like
No,
because
she
like
does.
she pitches Robert Duvall's character the idea for the Howard Beale show, and like the disagreement is not like misogynist, like you stupid cunt. Why are you giving me this? It's more like on the merits, where it's kind of like
Yeah.
where
It's
it's
just very
like,
much like,
oh,
is
you want
this
to do what
gonna,
now? Oh, what is this? Oh,
no,
okay, maybe that
yeah.
could make money. I'm gonna run this by legal. You might have some it's on the merits.
No, yeah.
It's
And I did
professional.
like that. It was very much him like, is this gonna make us money or not? Like he's not trying to say like,
Um,
I'm gonna disregard you because you're a woman. It's just more of like, I don't know, man. This could be risky. This could, we're already in the red as it is.
yeah.
Like, is this a death blow? Um,
Yeah. Well, I only bring
and
that
I
up
thought that
because
was great.
it is interesting that she is a woman early on in the period of like, I guess you could say like sex integration in the workplace, very
Yeah,
early on, but is not, her character is not challenged in this way. She is
yeah.
regarded as an equal, and she is also in this sense, and which I think is being got at by the screenwriter whose name I can see it in my head, but I struggle to pronounce it. And then it's like Patty Chesesky. What the fuck is his
Wait,
name?
wait for what? Oh, the writer
The
is Patty Chayefsky.
screenwriter, Patty
Um,
Chayefsky. Yes.
yeah,
And
Chayefsky.
what
Yeah,
Patty Chayefsky and Lumet are getting at, which is that she is, even though she is a woman, she is actually just as complicit as they are in the, I guess,
oh, for
the
sure.
evil they are perpetrating on America.
Oh, for sure.
And is in some way a key driver of it, as we may well discuss when we get to that last scene.
You did say she's not disregarded. How did you take? I think this might be her introduction scene where she's like talking about like she's in the room with them and like none of them read like the report or whatever. So she tells them like, okay, like next time you better have that shit read or you're all fired. Like I took that as like they didn't read it because they just didn't respect her as a woman. I don't know. That's kind of what I took away from it.
So I
don't
didn't
know.
read that as gendered. I read that more as like the movie is saying they don't get it, she does. So I think there'd be a little more texture there personally if it was gendered, because her staff
Okay.
is also, her staff is not all men, right?
Right,
There are
yeah.
women who work for her too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I took that scene to be more like she is actually the visionary in this moment of TV, but these
yeah,
people, these stodgy people, they don't get it. So she has to go
yeah,
out of her own apartment and go to people who might see things with a different set of eyes within the company, to like actually realize her vision. And so I think in a different kind of movie there would have been a gender component, where a different kind of movie where like we're supposed to sympathize with her and she's the hero because she's the bold visionary. It would play up a gender element where they're disregarding her because she's a woman and she's a boss. But in this respect, the movie wants to talk about her more as like she is a bad person and you are seeing her evolve into an even worse person, and maybe they should have disregarded her a little harder, so yeah.
Well, yeah, no,
It seems like this should have been more
no,
sexist.
I like what you're getting at. It's almost like there's kind of the movie's just, it's smart. Like there's almost like another level there that that's just under the surface of, like, I think that, yeah, she doesn't really get discriminated against because she delivers. She good business doesn't discriminate. The guy in the room is like, she's got a good idea, use it, like, and it seems like, and maybe that's only because, yeah, a lot of the other men in the room are just incompetent, and like they just, like, we don't know. Max, the two old guys, like, their ratings were going down. Like they were never trying to like be innovative or anything like that, So
yeah, they were not.
So she even though, like, yeah, maybe she felt the need to be that way, and it's kind of just it's just the way the machine.
It's very old
kind
guard,
of works.
new guard, yeah. Like the scene where they're having like their like lunch, they're all having like salads, and they're telling him like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and do this, and he's just like, I won't stand for it. Like, he's about the integrity of the news and all that, and they're just like, fuck that shit. We're trying to get money and get boost their ratings. Yeah. Like it is very much like old guard and like new guard, and just like the loss of integrity in news, which we all know what that's like.
To circle back,
this
though,
movie walked, so news
it does
run.
It does, just to re-up this so it isn't lost. The movie does have the like 70s sensibilities about like gender relations, which is kind of like, okay, yes, we have this powerful woman who is one of our main antagonists, and she is respected in her workplace, but actually really the only way the audience will appreciate and understand her depth is really if she has sex with a more senior man in her job. Really that's the only way that we can come to empathize with her and understand her. So in that respect, I mean, at least it didn't do the even worse thing, which is like actually the only way she gets done is if she sleeps with the powerful men. It didn't go that far, and that would have made me loathe the movie a little bit. But sure, that's a classic. If this is like a journalism movie, that's like a classic trope in like old school journalism.
Yeah, well, it's just less interesting.
It's very mad.
It's still very much a product of time in a way. Like that's just how it goes.
Yeah. But I just wanted to note that because it's not like a neat texture here, right? It's interesting because she is complicit. So she is an equal, but still, whether consciously or subconsciously, the writer and director, they're still people of their time. So it includes this like odd wrinkle where it's still like, oh yes, she is in some ways a villainous inversion of a progressive vision, but we're still trapped in like the gender stereotypes of our day. So yeah, art.
Yeah, no, and it's it's funny. So like when they have that scene, when she first comes into Max's office after hours, and it was so, God, this was the scene that the most that I wanted to write down, like the dialogue, where she walks into his office, she's talking to him, and she basically mentions that when she was in like journalist school or something, he came to speak at her college, and she had a crush on him, and she goes like, just the way she expresses it, this dialogue is so flowery and good. She basically says, I saw like a tarot card reader, and she told me that I would get involved with an older man or something, and that's kind of what the way that they kind of get involved with each other. And I love it's such flowery, fun language that I just was appreciating so much in that dialogue. And then when and it was such Mad Men vibes in this movie, kind of, to me. But then he's just like, yeah, let's go to dinner, and they just do it, and there's never like even a question that, oh, he's married. You know what I mean? It's not even.
Oh yeah.
And just something about the way both of them are interacting, and then when they go to the dinner scene, they're so sharply like self-aware of like the situation they're in, and they even refer to it later in the movie as like, oh, their script. they're thinking about it like scripted TV. Like when they're having that conversation at dinner, I loved it. He's just sitting there smoking the cigarette, and she's like, "So your wife is at home or something like that?" And he's like, "Yep." And he and she's just like, "You got a pregnant daughter, don't you?" or something. And he's like, "Yep, she's pregnant." Like, and he's just, and it's just, and then she had that line where she was like, "Well, here we are, Max." Like, and she like, I forget I wish I wrote it down, but no, it was just such a sharp and interesting way that these two characters are so aware of the story that they're in, because they're in script, like news and media and storytelling, that they're like, oh, this is the part, like they're just going with it, so I don't know, I found that very interesting and very entertaining, the way that that banter was going on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so then after, and I don't even think they have sex the first night when they go to that dinner. They don't. They just cut to something else after the dinner. I don't know. Maybe they did. Who knows?
Yeah. They just cut to the next day.
I don't think they show it, but I think it might be implied.
Implied,
that they did.
Yeah. Yeah, so then we're cutting back to like, we're still seeing like Howard have his fucking breakdowns that are just so like, I could see if you're an actor, you would beg for this role, it screams Oscar performance.
Wait, which role?
Howard, the guy that's
freaking out.
Finch's character, yes.
I mean, I would argue all three of them, but he's the showiest.
Oh,
obviously.
so we haven't even talked about my favorite character yet.
Who's that?
Who's your favorite character?
The boss, the CEO, is he the CEO or is he the chairman of the board? I think it's the chairman of the board. Ned Beatty's character.
Oh, Arthur Jensen. Yeah, I'm looking at the I'm looking at the cast.
He is my favorite because specifically I love his performance of that monologue he gives to Howard Beale when he brings him into the boardroom.
Yes, wait, we'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that.
Yes, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. I've been saving this. I want to talk about him. He's like my favorite. That's like my favorite moment in the whole movie.
I thought you were. I know. Oh fuck me. Oh god damn it. I thought you were talking about Robert Duvall, the bald guy. He was like.
Oh, he's good too. I mean, Robert Duvall's good in everything, but yeah.
Dude, Robert Duvall. Sorry, Family Guy reference.
Yeah.
Robert Duvall, the Godfather.
Yeah.
This. To Kill a Mockingbird.
It's when Peter says he doesn't like God. He's never seen the Godfather. Chris is like Robert Duvall. Yeah.
Anyway, so then we get to the plot point where with Faye Dunaway's character, she goes to LA. Now, I think some of the details I'm a little bit murky on this. Like I said, I only got to watch this once, and I had like subtitles on, and I was trying to like make sure I wasn't missing anything, but so then she gets involved with this like extremist group, like a communist party, that's doing like all these protests and these terrorist acts or something. I think they like did something at a bank or something, and she's trying to get a show made about them, and that's basically going on. Am I getting that right?
No, that's about right.
Yeah,
so she wants to create a block of programming. The like flagship show is the Howard Beale show, but it includes other little shows to fill the block. So she has like the Oracle that we mentioned. That's like a whole bit. And then there's one other guy that they always introduce, and I forget what his show is. And then there's the Mao Zedong Hour, which we had referenced before, which is essentially reality TV before reality TV really existed. But they're specifically in the vein of they're getting the extremist group whose name I forget to film themselves, because they were already filming themselves doing these acts. That's why she's aware of them, but she's just getting them to basically turn over their footage to their network so they can just live it, like stream it exclusively, broadcast it exclusively, I should say, not stream. And that's what the hour is. But the breakdown occurs because it's like they are wanted by the FBI, you know, very dangerous criminals, and so like any association with them is like extremely suspect in the eyes of the law, so they have to deal with these intermediaries. And also, you know, they're leftist groups. There's a notorious amount of infighting, so developing contracts with these people is also incredibly impossible. All those, I loved all those jokes. Those were all really good.
And it was so, and it's so in your face too, like yeah, just like everyone's place and they're in, like everyone's so aware of like maybe kind of how seedy and maybe in some cases contradictory their situations are. Because when Faye Dunaway is first introduced to the leader of the group, or that black woman, they like shake hands and she's just like, I'm a racist corporate bitch, and she's just like, and I'm one hard mouth beep. And they just are like, yep, we're doing business together, and we hate each other, but we're good for business. Like, yeah, and it's kind of right, and it's almost like this ethical question too, that as Faye Dunaway is so savvy, she doesn't even think of like the ethics of, hey, should we be sensationalizing like this terror group doing something? You know, it's kind of like the whole like the OJ chase, you know, it's like we're just gonna get so much ratings off of this.
Sensationalism.
Right, yeah, it's basic sensationalism, but also kind of
it's even worse because like in this funny little fictional scenario, they're basically directing domestic terrorism for money, right? Because they are contracting this terrorist group to produce footage. That means the terrorist group, in order to get paid, has to go out and do bigger and even crazier acts of terrorism so they can film it and then they can air it and it gets money, it gets ratings. So yes, they are for profit directing domestic terrorism purposefully.
And that's why Jan 6 was a psyop. But no, you're right, and yeah, and it's like they're literally funding them. And then I always love like that scene where it cuts from the woman talking to Faye Dunaway, and then it cuts to her like going to some house in the country, and it's like all these like guerrilla warfare guys with guns, like resistance fighters, and they're patting her down, and she goes into like this trap house or something where all these people are like just loading guns, you know, ready to commit terrorist acts. It's like that separation between like, okay, we're dealing with real fucking extreme criminals, but they're like, we're trying to work them into the corporate system and extract them for money. It's kind of like whenever I used to watch like back in the 2010s, like you would see like these rappers who were like still living in like the hood in Atlanta and like trap houses, and yet like they're signing these big deals with like studio like record labels. So it's like they have to like the studio is like dealing with like legitimate trappers and like drill rappers in like Chicago, and then like you know, it's like the corporatization of it, you know, of something that's like very real and very, it's just exploitative.
Which, by the way,
around.
Is a theme of this movie.
Well, like, yes, of course.
Corporatization of such things. That is actually a theme of this movie, which we can get into later. But I just thought you hit the nail on the head with that one, Danny.
Oh, well, thank you. No, yeah, exactly. It's there's so much to it. It's all there. So they're just exploring so much. But I really admired the Mac story, like the love story. It was a more human element that it was bringing to it, I thought. How Max was kind of like, I mean, he's kind of a piece of shit, yeah, just no question, going to cheat on his wife. And then he gets there was that whole scene with the stockholders where basically I think it was Robert Duvall's character basically like sandbags him in front of all of the shareholders, where he basically says like, oh yeah, like the ratings are way down or something. Do you guys remember that scene?
Yes, where he announces they're going to make significant cuts in the news division, despite everyone telling Schumacher that the news division's safe. Nothing's going to happen to their budget. Because again, Robert Duvall's whole thing is the news division is not profitable. So we need to like roll it back considerably. And that's like his main vision in his corporate corporate espionage, not corporate espionage, but his like corporate affairs, his corporate maneuverings.
Right. Yeah, so that's all. And then he eventually gets fired for, what does he do? He basically just tells him to fuck off or something because they're cutting him.
So he gets fired twice. So he's initially fired because I think the idea is that he allowed. So when Howard initially went on when he was calling things bullshit. William Holden's character Schumacher, he let that happen, and so he just like took responsibility for it when he was called into the office. And since this was before they got behind the whole Howard Beale show idea, the then CEO was kind of like, well, this is making a mockery of us. We can't allow this. So your position here is no longer tenable. I'm gonna have to fire you, old friend. So that's what he does. He fires him. Only to get rehired because that same CEO was like, oh, I don't trust this Robert Duvall guy. He's making moves on my office. So I need all my friends that I can get. So he rehires William Holden's character to bring him back on as like another ally on like that level of executives in the C-suite. And only for him to get sick. So he couldn't shield William Holden's character anymore, Schumacher anymore. So that's why Robert Duvall was then able to go ahead and purge him once more. I forget what the pretext was, but basically he just wasn't getting on board what the program was, which is that we're doing the Howard Beale show. You can't stop the Howard Beale show. We're doing this one. And he's like, no, I hate the Howard Beale show. He's unwell. He shouldn't be on air.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So we can get into the whole, so then we get Howard Beale, like they got his show. He's literally like a preacher now coming out. And God, those scenes he was so funny giving those rants. Can I tell you all, like, you mentioned a lot of people that you were comparing him to, like in our today like news media. Do you know who I kept seeing in him?
Who?
Jordan Peterson.
Oh God.
A little bit.
I don't know.
He doesn't cry enough.
No, yes, but kind of in the sense that like, oh, he had a mental break, because I feel like that's kind of the general consensus. Like people say like, okay, Jordan Peterson, like literally when we like, at least for me, when I watch him now, like he's addicted to pills or something, like, oh, he literally just lost his fucking mind.
Oh yes, no, in that sense, like, yeah, that's definitely valid because like. Between
not in any of the rhetoric.
Comparing Beale and Peterson, they're both operating from this like place of like very like raw, visceral emotions because they're both severely mentally ill, and they're just kind of saying things like I think you highlighted how you felt that Schumacher. Not Schumacher. You felt that Beale's rants were kind of word salad like, and so obviously Jordan Peterson, no bigger word salad smith than him, no bigger tosser of the word salad than he, and so I think there's a bit of a comparison there. To me, it was just more like I wouldn't have gone there because again, he doesn't break down into tears like Jordan Peterson does, and he doesn't not necessarily in terms of political belief, but obviously Jordan Peterson is someone who's constantly invoking like esoteric concepts in like Jungian theory and also in like English literature to like try to make sense a stupid like parallel or allegory he's trying to make, and it doesn't pan out and it doesn't make any sense and no one knows what he's talking about because it's some like half-baked idea in his disturbed mind. That's how he winds up like screaming at Elmo on Twitter because Elmo said that we should like share today.
And he'll always like never commit to anything. He'll always talk in these very abstractions, so like he never has to commit to any position on anything. There's this famous clip of him that I think from like a year ago or something where he's on a podcast because one of the whole things is like Jordan Peterson's like a religious guy, right? He always kind of like championed Christianity, I guess, but like he'll never come out and say that he's religious. So someone asked him like, do you believe in God? Like, do you believe in God? And his answer was like, well, let's break that down. What do you mean by do? And what do you mean by we? And what do you mean by believe?
Oh,
and
he does. Yeah, he does. That's a big rhetorical move because he does that shit all the time.
I'm not kidding.
And you know what this reminds me of?
What?
You know this
I can't hear you, Gene.
I can't. Gene, you muted. Nope. I guess we'll never know what it reminded him of.
Wait. Nope, still can't hear you.
Oh, there you go. Wait, no?
No. Nope.
You'll see the green box around you. We don't see it.
I saw you like try to unmute and then mute and then unmute, but it still does. I still can't hear you. It might be like your connection or something. I don't know.
What do you mean by do? And what do you mean by believe?
Does that work?
Yes,
no.
can hear you now.
It's like Peter Manchester. What is it? His like wife asks him to take the trash out, and he's like, "Why?"
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking
that's
about.
literally exactly what it sounds like.
No,
No, because you'll go to Jordan Peterson and you'll say something. He'll be like, yes, this reminds me of the classic knights and knaves problem. And really, if you sat there and thought about it and you analyzed knight and knave, you would know that this is just like the shadow problem from 1877. And that's why I don't eat vegetables anymore.
that's so perfect. Yeah, that's so perfect. And then like with the cry, he'll just start randomly tearing up in like and to see those kids reinterpret Marxism that way. He's just a guy that like
also, you cut to some loser in his mom's basement, like, holy shit, he's right.
yeah.
Also, for all my Jordan Peterson heads out there, don't look up Jordan Peterson grandma dream. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. It's a mistake.
Jordan,
I don't even know. I don't even. Wait,
yeah.
What is it?
Anyway,
Jordan Peterson grandma dream. Don't look it up.
Dan's writing it down for later.
Yeah. But anyway, God. Okay, so we kind of already talked about Max confronting his wife. And then like even when he goes to actually have they go away to like upstate or something, Faye Dunaway and Max, when they're eating dinner and there's like a little montage and they go to like the apartment to have sex, all she's doing is like talking about her job like the entire time and like talking about the company, and he's just like, yeah, whatever, I'm just here to get laid, like, and he's kind of like, but you can see the sadness in his eyes because he kind of loves her, but he knows like, oh, this is just making me more depressed that she's just literally talking about nothing but the company. And God, his performance was so fucking good too, man. I loved him in this movie. Like,
he's really good. I liked him a lot. Yeah,
he almost feels like the main sympathetic protagonist almost, because he kind of, I mean, he blatantly cheats on his wife without even a question, but I don't know. He seems to be the only one with kind of like a moral compass. I mean, Howard is just kind of deranged.
I love this like smooth yet stony voice that he has for this character. I don't know if that's just actually his voice, but like it sounds I just love like every line that he spoke. It just like did something for me. And kind of like what you're getting at, that's like an interesting tension for him, because we've definitely talked about how a theme of this is like men dealing with their mid to late life crises. And so like he has this tension where like she is a wonderful escape for him, but she is also kind of like an impending doom, not just because of like how her actions affect his friend, but kind of just like, oh, I see in her the young passionate executive that I used to be, and that makes me reflect, but I don't like the things that she's doing. And that makes me reflect on like how I have contributed to this cycle that is now ruining everyone else's life. And I don't like to do that. I just like to remember how I was like the young, ambitious reporter who took the cab over to the George Washington Bridge that one time.
Right.
And I'm going to keep telling that story. There's some good stuff going on under the hood there.
Yeah, no, that's why I kind of found his character to be the most interesting. And then and of course he's able, unlike any other man that age, he's able to express his feelings so eloquently. Just like that when they have the fight at the end, and God, what a great scene when he says to her, like, you need me badly because I'm your last contact with human reality. I love you. And that painful, decaying love is the only thing between you and the shrieking nothingness you live the rest of your day. And then I love when...
What's his retort when they're following... so when they're fighting in the office and Robert Duvall fires... Schumacher for like the final time, and he like looks at Faye Dunaway's character, and he looks at her. He's like, "Oh, I suppose you're in on this too. You're good with this." And she basically says, "Yes." What was that retort? I think it was like, "Fuck you, honey." Yes. The way he like said it was like so, like, it was so cutting and it was so clear. I was just like, "Damn, I felt that. I didn't even do this to you." Like,
right? Yeah, exactly. No, it's so like passionate, but yeah, and then I love the scene when in that scene when they're fighting, when he just like berates her and then just says like, I love you and I just want you to love me back. And then she just, after like all of these like soliloquies of like just very expressionist, like just very beautiful like paragraphs and stuff, Faye Dunaway just blankly replies with, I don't know how. Like, she literally just says, I don't know how to do that. And that hit really hard because they were also like, they were so good at like expressing themselves up to that point. Like in a different movie where the dialogue wasn't so fucking hard hitting, I don't feel like that would hit as well. But because like she is just genuinely at a loss for words in that moment, where typically she's very well articulate, she just blankly like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to like literally show love for a human being. Wow, really fucking worked for me. And then he has like the whole, like, they keep referring to it as like they both are like have the emotional wherewithal to like know like that this is kind of like the script and this is where it's going. Like, and he says like and it's the happy ending. Wayward husband comes to his senses, returns to his wife, with whom he has established a long and sustaining love. Heartless young woman left alone in her Arctic dissolution. Like, the music swells up, final commercial, and then there's a few scenes for next week's show. Like, that's so like taking her down. Like, okay, so Remington, let's get to your scene that you love the most with when Howard when Robert Duvall brings Howard to see the big man, Ned Beatty, who I'm guessing is like the CEO. I don't know who Ned.
I think he's chairman of the board.
Okay, right. Yeah.
I think that's his job. Because he wasn't the CEO, because that was Schumacher's friend, who then died, and then it became Robert Duvall after that. So I think Jensen is the chairman of the board. Anyway, they bring so prior to this meeting, Howard was perceived to have like crossed a line, because in his most recent episode he went on a rant and he was specifically denouncing the parent company of the network, the parent company that owns the network. I forget, they have like a role in like a specific business deal with like the Saudis, I want to say. And he was denouncing them for their role in that business deal. So he was encouraging his audience to basically just like harass the parent company, harass them to get them, call them and tell them to stop the deal. Do not let this deal happen. And it's just like, Howard, buddy, who pays you? Like, don't you want the paychecks to still come, my friend?
He was kind of already criticizing the network, if I recall, in his first monologue. He was like, you're controlled by the televisions, but he wasn't doing like a call to action to actually like boycott the deal.
Yes, he wasn't. It's that call to action that crosses the line, and so that immediately put everyone into like crisis mode. Like they literally have a scene where like there's like a powwow between Robert Duvall's character and Faye Dunaway's character and all the other like little executives, and they're like, are we gonna have to get rid of the show? Like, is this over? Like, what's gonna happen? And like Robert Duvall's character is kind of like, oh yeah, I was the king. I was he literally calls him the sun god, and now I'm like, it's like over for me. I'm gonna get fired. My career's in the toilet.
Everyone's just so well spoken.
Yes. And
it's such a great theatrical way.
So they get word comes down that Mr. Jensen, Ned Beatty's character, wants to speak with Howard. So they bring him up to like the top floor where the boardroom is, and they exchange pleasantries. And Ned Beatty's character is kind of like, why don't we step into the boardroom here so we can? It's more fitting for the things I want to say to you. So they sit him down.
He matches his freak.
Yeah, it's like so like they bring him in. It's like this huge table. So they sit him down on the opposite end of the table from where they are. And he's like, yeah, why don't you get comfortable? And he like brings them in. He closes the curtain so it's dark. And the way the camera like perfectly lines up. So he's like between the two lamps that are on the table. And then he's just like, you are messing with the forces of nature, Mr. Beale. And goes into like this huge rant about how like he doesn't understand geopolitics and like global finance and how like it's all hinging on this deal and that which pays him, and he puts him in his exact fucking place and is like, no, your job is to advance my interests. I pay you. This is what you need to do. And I don't care that it's going to sound inauthentic when I send your ass out there to go and like reverse this. You're just going to say what I want you to say. And that is, you're going to advance beliefs that advance my beliefs, which are right-wing capitalism. My belief is my wallet. I think he doesn't say those words, but that's like me paraphrasing it. That's like the ethos of the speech, so to speak. I think he actually has a line where it's just like, he's kind of like, the only real ideology is like the US dollar. I think he says something like that. And yeah, I love that monologue. I loved everything Ned Beatty was putting down with that. And it kind of made me wish that young Remington did that monologue when he was in PAA back in the day. So
right?
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah.
I would love to be an actor. I would try that shit. Oh my god, I wouldn't be good at any of that, but I would just I would try the.
Why not?
I would be good at I would try the freaking out Howard Beale. But
you have a radio voice. You could make something work.
You have such a good radio voice.
When my living situation changes, I am gonna like do like what you did, Gene. I'm gonna get into like the casting thing, and I'm gonna try to do like background work. I want it.
He's gonna hit every casting couch.
That's yeah.
He's gonna hit every casting couch. I will see Dan on so many productions.
Yeah,
can't wait.
But anyway, no, but yeah, what I loved about that speech was it almost felt like Ned Beatty was like matching Howard's energy and kind of almost presenting this monologue kind of the way he would, as like a prophet, you know, and like almost as a way to like, oh, if I need to get through to this crazy motherfucker, I have to like match his. I think he says at one point something to the effect of like, oh, you think you've seen the light or something like that. Like he's
yes
meeting him on his like freak level of like, oh, you think you're a prophet? Well, here's my prophet like speech, you know? Oh, it was so good.
So to me watching, I was like, oh, so this is what Rupert Murdoch did like every day when he was running Fox News. Like him and Roger Ailes, this is what they would do every day to every one of their little psychos.
And I would like to think that entire scene is the two forces inside of Jordan Peterson's head, and that's what it looks like, just these two battling forces of like psychopaths, and it just comes out like and like just crying, like that's
No, because I don't think Peterson actually has a sense of propriety, because if he did, he wouldn't be involved in this protracted standoff with whatever university it was that he used to teach at and is now just like an emeritus status. Because basically he keeps publicly like using transphobic slurs, and the university is like, you can't do that if you want to work for us or have any type of status. So please just do this like little training we'll leave you alone. Just do the training, and we can say you did the training, and everything will be. It's like, no, I'm not doing the training. You're trying to censor me. You're trying to silence me. I will never do the training. And he just keeps escalating it and escalating it and escalating it. It might not have been the university. It might have been the psychiatric association he belongs to in Canada. I can't remember which, but it's one of those things basically where because of his power and stature, they can't really do anything to him. But eventually, these things are catching up with him a little bit because he does have to abide by some rules as a professional psychologist in Canada.
Right.
Even though he doesn't see patients anymore. But
yeah, God, that scene was so good. So in a way, when Howard goes out there for the last time, he's kind of almost like a sellout. Like he's kind of like grifting. Like, you know what I mean? Do you think in that moment he was just kind of, we never got any reaction from him of what he just bent the knee, you know? He just did it. He was like, all right, I guess I'm going to change my ideology now, which was interesting, you know? Like he didn't stick to, you know?
I mean, yeah, but so what is that? So, I mean, like, do you see that as like he never truly believed in his ideology in the first place?
Or like
is it hollow?
he could be bought or swayed, or I don't know.
I think he has a line later on. We don't get like a full reaction, but I think he has a line where he's like, "I've seen a new god" or something like that. And like I think that's getting at the idea that because he is so mentally ill, that he is also very suggestible. And so like the fact that the fact that Ned Beatty's character, Mr. Jensen, came at him so hard, so defiantly and so cogently, might have like brought him in line a bit more, because it's like, now I have my new religion that gives me certainty. So I think that's what it's getting at, but I also do think it's in keeping with the theme of like corporate capture, which is like a lot of what this is talking about, where like you go from having, it was a crazy voice, but it was an authentic voice, that is captured in the services of capital. And that's like a thing that happens throughout. Like that's what happens to the left-wing militant group, and that's a story of what's happening to journalism, broadcast journalism, with corporate capture. So, yeah.
And then we get to the ultimate scene of when Robert Duvall comes in, and they're like, this was a wild scene, just in the execution and the delivery, like the performances, because they're meeting, and he goes to Faye Dunaway. He goes, okay, like what are we gonna do if we let this guy go on air? The big boss is not gonna move. He wants him back on the air. And then Faye Dunaway's like, we're fucked. Like he's plummeting in the ratings because he was basically going on like diatribes about like how man is worthless and stuff like that. But so then Robert...
Yes, listeners, see Howard Beale, he's Tucker Carlson, right? So when he was really successful, he was Tucker Carlson on Fox News. But when he decides to follow Mr. Jensen's line, now he is Tucker Carlson on X, where nobody cares about him, but he was once this amazing, huge celebrity amongst a certain kind of people. So we have to put up with him now. But in this case, they could just fire Tucker Carlson and marginalize him. In this movie, well...
Yeah. They're sitting in the room, and then Robert Duvall goes like, well, we could kill him. And then at first it's like you read that line and you're like, oh, it's just an offhanded joke. And then they like just keep going, like, well, are we actually going to kill him? Like, what? So what? Do you think we should kill him?
It's just like, how would we do this?
Right.
Like, how
it's
would
like,
we do
it's
this?
not like at first, like,
it starts materializing.
You think it's like a joke, but no, I think right off the bat, he's like dead serious. Like, yeah, how are we going to kill him? Like, and they're just all like, yeah, how do we kill him? We're going to have to kill him. Like, did anyone feel like that was like extreme? Like, oh, wow. Like, they...
I'm glad you
was.
mentioned...
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Like, in a good way.
I'm glad you mentioned because, like, it came off to, I don't know, maybe I haven't seen enough like 70s movies, but like it reminded me kind of like Beneath the Planet of the Apes, or like that final thing just kind of like happened so fast. Like the movie, I guess like in a way it's building to that, like that last scene of like, let's fucking kill him. And like, I mean, from that meeting to him actually getting killed, it's like 3 minutes, not even, it's not a very long time. Like, and I feel it's maybe it's like a practice at a time. I don't know. Like, I feel like a modern movie would make that like last a little longer. Like, that would be the whole third act in my like in a modern movie probably. But I think it works. I don't. I think it. I think it just works. Like, there's no reason to drag it out. You know.
Yeah, no.
Well, the
Um,
whole movie is like the fleshing out and development of a joke. It exists before this movie, but it's seizing on this joke where it's like those network executives, they'll do anything for ratings, right? And it's just that joke
yeah.
played out in a 2-hour film. And so
Yeah.
that's like what that is, where it's like we've gotten to the point to where we now own a terrorist group, so we can actually assassinate people for ratings if we wish to. Which is what they settle on. So
We have our own CIA. You know?
Well, I guess just to be clear, I don't think it was a bad thing. I guess what I meant to say was it felt like a very intentional tone thing to where
Yeah.
you were supposed
yeah.
to
Kinda
maybe
like-
I know what you're
you
saying.
were
It's like presented like kind of humorous at first, like oh, we just kill him,
or like
and
you
it's
as
like,
an audience member, like, oh, in normal talk he must be joking, right? But
Yeah.
it's very quickly
Yeah.
like
Yeah, you're supposed to laugh, and then it gets chilling as you
Like-
realize how serious they are, and you sit there like,
yeah,
without
they're like oh
any
no, they're actually gonna fucking
hesitation.
do it.
Yeah, immediately everyone in the room is like, yeah, I guess we're gonna have to kill him. Like, and they're like, oh fuck, like this is but
Like you've played your part, Pawn.
Yeah.
like yeah. I mean, yeah. He you know, he's been useful to them. And he's no longer useful to them. Like, all right, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it even what's the other show? What's it called?
what?
The Mao say,
hour.
Oh.
yeah, like they do use it to kick off the next season of it. Like it's like they even like you know they use death as like to their benefit. Like it kicks off the next thing for them. Like that's the whole These crazy network executives, as Remington said.
Yes. And specifically, we touched on it, but they choose the killing him route because the chairman of the board, because Howard is fully converted to the ways of right wing capitalism, the chairman of the board is like, no, he stays no matter what. He's my mouthpiece. I need him. So he doesn't. He's not persuaded by cost benefit analysis and ratings about the show. So they want to jettison the show, but they can't fire him because that's toxic career wise. So the solution they come up with is to murder him by using the terrorists that they've hired for the Mao Zedong hour, because they calculated that like in the long term they'll make more money because the Mao Zedong hour will get huge ratings because they just murdered someone. They can come up with an even better show, and the only thing they have to pay out is like the contract where to Howard's beneficiaries or whoever, they get money for like his the first year of the show. Or I forget the exact contract terms, but they get a payout for the show ending basically. And so it's like, oh, that's marginal once you do the math compared to what else we could make. So that's the decision that they come to in that cold C-suite kind of way where they determine to end a human being's life.
Yeah, it's just another line item on the end of the year fucking budget.
Right.
Like, okay, we'll pay him out, whatever.
Morals and ethics is never even like a factor. It's just like what will this
No, I
do
don't
for our
care.
bottom line? You know?
Yeah.
You know, Kristensen's entirely on board. Like, she's the one who kind of comes up with the plan too. Like, it all culminates very well. Where she's like, "I'm just, this is how we'll do it."
Yeah.
Is it her who says that? Is it her who brings up like the terrorists can just fucking do it?
I think so.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is actually like her idea. Like not the missile jest, but like actually how we should actually do this. Yes. And this is how we're going to do it. And they're just like running through in like a talky kind of way. They're running through like, oh, should we do this? No, consider this or do that. In kind of almost like it was like an episode of The West Wing, another talkie. So yeah. And then of course it ends with the real gut punch, which is like what follows afterward when you see the assassination take place. And then they pair it with all of those advertisements because it goes to like the control. I don't know what the term is, but basically what the controller sees in the control room, where it is like what's airing, and then controls that are teed up. So it's like footage of the terrorists murdering Howard, the crowd freaking out. And then like there's like a Coca-Cola ad. And then there's like, did you catch what airline that was? It was like a Coca-Cola ad and airline ad that were playing while that was going on. And it's just like,
Pan Am, 70s.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was also before it goes to that, when it initially pans out from the murder, because you initially see the murder from the
Mhm.
perspective
Yeah,
of just like being on the stage when it happens. And
yeah,
as it's panning out, you can literally see the cameraman in the crane, like angling to get the shot. It was really good.
Yeah.
Um,
God.
yeah.
God. Yeah. I gotta check out more of Sidney Lumet's movies. He fucking fantastic. Uh. But yeah, and then yeah, right. We get to the end. Howard is shot. I don't think we ever
The
see it.
narration.
Yeah, they have that like news narration going on throughout the movie.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I love how everything ends. I love that the real last time we see Max is that last scene where he basically just says, "Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna go. This is the part where I go home to my wife, and it's a happy ending." And we get the last scene of Faye Dunaway in the meeting room, but her conclusion is like,
yeah.
yeah, they choose to kill Howard. Like she's just become the cold. She's become Vader. Like she's fully in. And yeah, and then Howard
He's
is
more machine now than woman.
yeah.
Twisted and evil.
Yeah, and Howard, yeah, is just the unfortunate pawn in the whole thing that just like, yeah, God, I fucking loved this movie. The only other thing I really wanted to talk about is just kind of how do you think this movie relates today? Like, do you think it holds up for today, or do you think it seems a little dated? I don't know. What do you think?
They do mention
Coaching.
well, no, they do. There's a part they mentioned something. They mentioned like a plane hijack or something, which was pretty common back in the day. They do mention.
yeah, I think they did.
They do mention that, and I'm like, I was just gonna make a joke that we're 2 steps away from that happening again. Um, I mean, yeah, they mention like there's a whole thing. The Saudis are trying to like buy them out, really, in a way. They mention there's a Watergate. I mean, it's a very topical movie, but I mean, really, not much has changed, I guess. So I think it's topical enough, like in a way where, you know, people want entertainment, the bread and circus. People are mad about things. They mention a bit of the gas crisis, the oil crisis. These are people just don't have the money to afford things, and you got to keep them entertained, I guess, and
kind of fear mongering, needing to create a boogeyman out of something, but
kinda.
So to me, I do think it actually has a lot useful to say for a moment, up to a point, but it does. Because I think in a lot of ways I sat there thinking like, oh, this basically predicted Fox News. In a lot of ways. Because the genius of Fox News was that Fox News didn't come into existence until the 90s, so it was not around at this time. The genius of Fox News is that it very early on found a way to blend like entertainment and news, right? That's how legal filings work. It was filed as an entertainment company. And it did this specifically in a way that would like essentially serve as right-wing agitprop, right? Like it's entertaining. If you are a conservative, it's entertaining to watch Fox News, and it's giving the news in a way that makes you go, yeah, I hate those guys too. And so in a way, it kind of predicts where the news goes, where you see this merger of news and entertainment, the infotainment as they call it. And it's not just Fox News that does this. Fox News is just like the more pernicious example, where like you and I, Dan, were struck by like different people that we could see in Howard Beale,
right?
Because that's like their format that Fox News uses. But like, is it really that different from like Jon Stewart? Is it really that different from John Oliver?
No.
They're not telling people to like harass people and kill people. But like the idea is kind of like, I'm providing you a news story in a very digestible format where I tell some jokes and you all love me and I have a populist message. So in a lot of ways, it is a lot to say about the next 30 years in media.
Yeah.
Where it starts to falter is obviously this is the analog world and it does not predict the internet. So like, so it rightly perceives like entertainment kind of killing broadcast journalism in a way, or at least transmogrifying it in horrible ways, but it does not anticipate like the death of print media and what that
Yeah.
does to media, and gets us to the world where we are now, where media and news is heavily democratized, and so you're less so worried about what what the executives of large networks are doing and how that's corrupting the news, and so much as just there is such a fractured media ecosystem that those people don't have control anymore, for better or worse. And so you're competing with like influencers who are being funded by X corporation or X foreign government, or just they're insane themselves spreading shit. They don't need whatever the parent company was, it CCN or something, whatever their parent company was. They don't
DCA,
need
I
that to
think?
do that anymore. They can just do that from the comfort of their, yeah, I think it was CCA. They can just do that from the comfort of their own living room, their own office space, their own basement,
Yeah.
and do all that. It does it being the 70s, it doesn't anticipate what our current ecosystem is, which is kind of like the thing it's talking about,
Yeah.
but dial up to 100 and then with different features.
Yeah, no, that was all very well said, and I agree with all of it. But yeah, no, what I was wrestling with when watching this movie was, yeah, it's nailing everything, like the Fox News, the sensationalizing, but I feel like we're and like you said, yes, like is the format different than someone like Jon Stewart or John Oliver? Like, it's the same, it's not that different. I just feel like we're already in a world now where we're kind of past all of that. Like mainly that Sidney Lumet, like this movie does suffer from it couldn't have predicted the internet and the world that we are finding ourselves in now, that we have found ourselves in the past, like what, like 8 years or so, like how new media, independent, the internet, YouTube, podcasts were all meant to be like this new promising thing of, it's not corporate, it's independent, it's, fuck the mainstream, like we're getting our news different ways, there's all these, which is a great thing, right? But what we've learned
In
is
that sense, oh sorry,
yeah, go ahead. In that sense,
I was just saying, in that sense, it is still timely though, because as we've discussed, a theme of this is corporate capture, right? And so,
yeah, that's
corporate
true.
capture, as by way of neoliberalism, like we're living in the final culmination of that, where corporations have captured so much thanks to the rolling back of our antitrust laws. They've been allowed to absorb so much market share that they, what we would have thought would be like you were saying, these free independent sources of media, they own all that.
Right.
Through advertising, right? Because they control what ads go on there. And they secretly bankroll and set up these like sock puppet podcasts to go and spread messages that are favorable to their interests.
Well,
they don't need, Mr. Jensen doesn't need to drag ex Tim Pool into the boardroom and be like, you're messing with the forces of nature, Mr. Pool. He just has 12 intermediaries whose job it is to hire Tim Pool like characters and put them on the payroll and make sure they say the right thing, so Tim Pool can get like $10 million a year, so that's, we're living in the even worse version than what probably Patty Chayefsky could have anticipated when he was writing the screenplay.
I think
go ahead.
Well, no, I was gonna say, Remy, I think so, where the Jack Beale, like, so he starts off as just like a regular news guy, and in front of in the middle, in the middle of the desk talking to you, that's at the camera, and he ends up as like a late night talk show host. And so by the time this movie came out, Johnny Carson, late show Johnny Carson, was a thing. I quickly looked up. I mean, it's the last 30 freaking years, but so by the time this movie came out, Johnny Carson had been on air for a little over 10 years, so people knew who Johnny Carson was. So it seems like. So it seems like the idea was like, what if the news and late night talk variety TV shows blended? And I think that was like the most they predicted or could even fathom. And how you said, like, and we exist in a hyper, way worse version of that. But
that's actually. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Bringing up.
Well,
sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah, sorry.
No. We were no, because like he come like they do like when they introduce Jack Beal, like they first introduced like those two other three other segments, and then now your host, like, and then he walks out. It just reminded me of like Late Night of the Devil. Late Night of the Devil does that really well too. The whole late night talk show thing, and like, so that's what it becomes. But the idea is like, what if that was the news broadcast as well? And ding, 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 ding. That's what happened in the 90s with Fox News, and then
but also like
accelerated.
Here's another angle that it also can speak to our times, because like he's like a veteran. It's not a neat comparison, but he's like a veteran news anchor, right?
Oh yeah, he's not new.
One bad thing happens in his career, and then he immediately goes grifter mode, right?
Right wing grifter mode.
That's basically the world we live in, where you see people who once had prestige and status, and then a hiccup happens in their career, and they immediately go grifter mode, and specifically in like a right wing populist bent, usually. And so that is also like a telling thing. This is perhaps a timelier work than they may have realized.
Yeah, that's why I was
That's actually really good. Yeah, that's actually that's actually really good. I didn't realize that either. And especially since like is it Ned Beatty's character is like, no, buddy, you have to like your message has to be about like capitalism and lining our pockets. That's the right wing grift. Right. It's just really spreading the right wing uber capitalist message of whoever the fuck's paying you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's it's just the internet has made it. I mean, the way I think you made a good point, Gene, with comparing it like to predicting like the late night talk show, but it's funny because I wasn't around for a lot of like the early era stuff, but I don't really feel like back in the day like Carson, like these late night talk show hosts had a lot of like pull politically, or were really like they're not like politics wasn't maybe people didn't care about politics back then the way that they do now. Like I feel like
I think they definitely did, Dan.
Well, the Bush years definitely changed
in a different way. Sure.
It was different. So I do think that people cared about politics. That's real. What is different is that
there wasn't a culture
polarization. So like there was. It's called the 70s, Dan. What was different is that polarization was not the same then as it is now, right? Because it used classically American politics in like the latter half of the 20th century is best understood as, well, a third of people are on the right, a third of people are on the left, and there's like this third of people are in the middle. And to win elections, you need to win the middle. Since that time, there is rapidly no real middle left anymore. People, even if they don't call themselves Democrats and Republicans, people have picked a side, essentially, or they have like incoherent beliefs that like default to one side, whether they understand it or not. But essentially, the story of American politics is the evaporation of that middle. And so in the 70s, you still had, despite there was a the counterculture of the 60s and the 70s, there was still like a middle there, a persuadable middle that you could talk to. And so like they did have They did have like politics in their entertainment media, right? Because this is around the time that SNL was born, right? And what's one of SNL's earliest skits? It's like the weekly news update, right? That's like one of their earliest skits. This is also the era where so we're like at the beginning of the Ford presidency, so I don't know if it's fully taken shape yet. But one of the things that kills Ford's presidency, at least in the court of public opinion, is that people think he's a moron. People think that he's a moron who can't stay awake. Literally, they make jokes about him like falling asleep in meetings. Like, where have we heard that one before? He was specifically savaged by this, in media. And it was you can see it in old SNL episodes, them making those kinds of jokes. And you can see the late night talk show hosts making jokes like that. So like it's different. It's less extreme. But it's similar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We lost him.
We lost him. We lost our boy.
Hold on. Oh no. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
I'm sorry. I accidentally left the tab. I was Googling something and I typed it in the tab I have open for Discord.
No, it's okay.
It's all good.
Yeah, God, no, Remington, that was so well said. I just feel like maybe I'm just using this as an excuse to like rant against like our current media landscape.
I mean, yeah, Dan, like I mean, like you weren't alive, so like, okay, this is like
I
one of
don't
my.
know, right? Yeah.
It's no, it's not even that. It's just you are alive right now, right? So you know what it's like to be alive right now, and with all the benefits and the cons of being alive right now, right? It's like, okay, like many people are anti-vax, Dan, because they didn't have to live through a time where vaccines weren't prevalent and people were dying of fucking polio and tuberculosis and shit like that.
Literally. Same thing when they were freaking out about quarantine, right? Because the last time we had
Yeah.
like a major quarantine in this country was 1968. So of
Yeah.
course there's very few people with living memory of what it meant to have like robust
Yeah.
public health policy like that.
Yeah.
So of course we're going to lose their minds in 2020 when we have to do that again.
Yeah, or like, you know, or even just your benefit of like, you're born in America. You don't have to deal with like diarrhea fucking killing you because you're born in America. You know, you don't have to deal with like these diseases that ravage other countries and did ravage the United States 100 fucking years ago, and you know that creates like a bubble. And now we've regressed where they're like, you know what? Do we need vaccines? Like, yeah, because you have been benefiting from the results of vaccines for your whole fucking life. So it's the same thing. Like, Dan, like you were alive in the 70s, sure, but you know what the political landscape is now. You're on fucking Twitter, which is a shit show now. But the 70s were
But
70s were a mess, Dan.
But I just feel like it's so I can't believe like with social media and the internet that it's was as unhinged.
Polarized, like Remington said.
But
we've eliminated the centrists. Like there's no middle anymore. It's just you pick your left or right.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk to anyone who's a centrist nowadays, and within 10 minutes they'll start telling you about how they don't trust Jews and how
there's no such
they don't like
So,
trans
like,
people.
There's
One thing to clarify on that is that just because there's like an erosion of the middle, doesn't mean that everyone has like a coherent worldview. So like they might not be able to articulate themselves as like left or right, or have views that are very contradictory. But you know but you know you can tell like where their passions are when you talk to them.
I got
a real preference there.
As someone who's terminally online, the one thing that I can't stand the fucking because that's the thing though, is like I feel like in the 70s maybe like political tensions were high obviously, but like not everyone was as plugged in as they are now, where like literally everything
there's no way to be.
Everything is political. Just look at
there wasn't the hyper awareness. Yeah,
right. Like the Super Bowl the other night, the halftime show immediately was like a big political thing where it was almost to the point where it almost was like you didn't even have to watch the halftime show. It was just like the marching orders of the right, like, oh, I see everyone, all the grifters are like tweeting
incoming right-wing update.
Yeah,
I don't like the halftime show. All right, I'm on it.
Halftime show. Oh, I guess I should just obligatorily tweet that because that's what. Like, do you know what?
That collage post of Matt
Matt Walsh, my arch nemesis,
showing that he says he hates the halftime show like every year since like 2015. You can find a tweet of him saying, "I hate the halftime show. I hate the halftime show. Halftime show gone woke." Like.
A smaller thing that this happened with was that you might not have noticed, but this was a small thing I noticed too. You know what they did this with was the 28 Years Later trailer.
What do you mean?
This was a smaller thing, but this was a thing I noticed where the Critical Drinker came out and was like praising the trailer and said it was great. Like basically because like
it's not woke.
Yeah, like because I guess it's not woke, so they it's like one thing that they can say like somehow because there wasn't a woman or
the women were scared, but Ralph Fiennes looked manly.
Right, so like they're like, oh, this trailer was great. And after that, I saw like Matt Walsh and a bunch of other right-wingers saying it. So it's like, it's almost like they need the clearance. Like, oh, this is what the main person's saying. Now, like, I got to run with this too. Yes, like they all culminate together.
They got their orders. They got their update, Dan. Like, I love the meme where it's like someone's like, you know, like they open up the back of their head and they put the new chip in with the new outrage for the week.
And the
like,
problem,
that's just what it is.
And the problem with the left is like, unfortunately, the left has principles and none of the left agrees on anything. There is like a divide between like far left socialist, but that's what I was going to say. Sorry, before I got to get this across. one of the worst cancerous fucking things on the internet right now is obvious, like,
Everything?
okay, yes, so I can't tell you how many times the worst thing that'll happen is you'll get some figure, usually like a hack comedian will go on Rogan, and then I can't tell you how many times people will do this on shows or something. They'll go like, well, see, I'm actually really different because I don't always agree with the right and I don't always agree with the left. I'm kind of in the middle and I'm kind of politically homeless.
Yeah.
Like that's people do that all the time, and then it's like,
And then
go
10
on-
minutes later,
then-
they're ranting about the Jews. I know.
No, well, like then they will proceed to a 2.5-hour conversation of how much the Democrats suck, and well, actually Trump was right on this, and actually Alex Jones
Yes.
does get it right there.
Yes, that's what I was getting at.
There's so many people that are online that will like
Yes.
pose as centrists and be like, well, I'm actually
Faux
this is-
centrist, but then
I'm
it's like,
actually-
but I don't know. Donald Trump is right about
none of
everything.
them, and people will point this out too. Literally every person online that will identify as like a centrist or a libertarian, they all go out for Trump.
And
None
there's
of
memes
them-
about it. There's a Scooby Doo meme about it where they're removing the mask, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Neither
let's
left
see
nor
who
right.
was.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's literally
yeah.
every time
It's-
everyone
yeah.
says like point to one person, prominent person that says they're a centrist, but they're just literally Republicans. Like it's a grift. It's all a fucking
Pretty sure
grift.
Fetterman still tries to say he's a
Sometimes it's
centrist.
a grift. Other times, sometimes it's a grift. Other times, I think again, not everyone has a coherent worldview. And so what I think is true though is that there were a lot of like quote unquote like liberal or like center left pundits who, because of like Black Lives Matter and different quote unquote woke things that happened, they were like pushed right in their views,
Yeah.
and they just don't want to
Yeah.
admit to themselves now that they are more right wing than they maybe once were, and so they still call themselves liberals or they call themselves centrists, even though they should probably just be Republicans at this point. I think that's a real kind of person. I don't think it's entirely dishonesty. It's just that it's dishonesty with
Yeah.
themselves, not necessarily with us. Is what I'm positing.
Well, Remy, too.
that's a real thing.
I think too is also like, at least in regards to politicians, like a big part of that is like if you're looking for votes, you know, it's safer to be a self-described centrist with, you know, like you want to get the votes and you're trying to appeal to a base of people who are like, you're trying to be like, yeah, you know, I don't really agree with trans folk. I don't really agree, like, you know, with the things that are seen as more radical and extreme. Like, I mean, we saw Harris do all the fucking time. Like, you know, like, I'm a Democrat, but I still stand with Israel, you know? Like, it's things like that. Like, you're fishing for votes, so you don't want to come off as too radical.
I know, but like, you know,
Radical anyway.
Matt Iglesias isn't fishing for votes. He's not a politician. He's just a pundit that everyone listens to. But
Right,
he
right.
does
Yeah.
what
Oh yeah,
Dan
yeah.
is
No, that's what I said.
describing, you
Yeah,
know,
I'll say like when it comes to politicians for sure. Like they're just trying to. They don't want to come
There's-
off as like, yeah, we don't support woke things. Like, you know, we're Democrats, but
There's
you don't-
also
you know, you
there's
wanna be
also
radical.
there's also an arc that some people will go through of basically like this is the person I'm mainly thinking of right now is Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks.
oh yeah, I
basic-
fucking hate her.
Yeah,
I also hate Cenk, but like, yeah, they both suck.
yeah, they've gone off the deep end. But yeah, we're basically what happened to her
have they? I
is
thought they were like super fucking like liberal. Are they right wing now too?
yes.
Oh, you missed that? Yeah,
no,
they've had
no,
like a
so-
whole
Yeah.
right wing
So-
arc the last 4 years.
When the fuck
So
did
what
this
happened?
happen?
So what happened?
4 years?
Do you remember in 2021 when there was like a crime panic?
Yeah, but isn't that every election season?
No, wait. Can I,
Specifically in like 2021, there was like a crime panic, and then that's when like Cenk and
Wait,
Anna
is that
decided
you?
that we have to get right wing on crime. So they just like started parroting a bunch of right wing talking points, and that eventually shifted them into transphobia. And so yeah, they suck now.
yeah.
And I was
Posing the crime
Dan, you
bill
finish your
again.
point because I have a funny story about my
Oh,
hating the Young
God.
Turks.
No, I
Okay.
know
but You
that.
finish your point.
so what happened with
Like, my
specifically?
wife used to watch the Young Turks when I first met her.
Yeah, no, they're awful now.
This is years and years and years ago. now.
Cenk is not.
Oh yeah,
full-
they were classic anti-Bush media.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
now they're like in bed, like Cenk's taking pictures with RFK. Like they're basically.
Oh,
like,
you fuck! No way.
Yeah.
Also,
What
like
the
everyone in their extended universe sucks ass,
Yeah.
like fucking Jimmy Dore. I fucking hate
Dave
that guy.
Rubin, like everyone that came from them.
Yes, Dave Rubin, literally.
But anyway, so what happened? The example with Anna Kasparian is interesting because I think what happened to her is she's essentially someone that got bullied. So she had this whole thing where she had a story about how she was assaulted by a homeless person in LA. And she came out and was like, okay, we really got to fucking do something about these homeless people. She wasn't taking the far left position of like, no, like this homeless thing is actually a fucking problem.
Yeah.
You know, which is kind
Don't
of
tackle the root of the problem, just like out of sight, out of mind.
Well, I don't know. I mean, she just basically the far left was kind of unjustifiably, I feel like, bullying her, and just that is a thing. I do think there is a thing on the far left that is like, if it's purity testing, where if you don't meet like the immediate like line that they're on, they bully you the fuck out of you and push you out if you don't agree with every little thing they do. So she got bullied.
I don't know. That's part of being online.
Yes, but what I was gonna go with that point was, sorry, not to, but like
sure.
But what I was gonna go with that point is,
sorry.
No, you're good. But even if you get bullied, you shouldn't change your entire political beliefs because I got bullied into it. Like, you know, that's the whole
It
accusation.
happens, man. It happens.
But like, why would you change your entire worldview, like just because some people online were like?
Because this, Dan,
because then
Dan, this is
you can buy a
this is
boat
the
when
other
you get paid.
great phenomenon of our time, Dan, right? Because this is the truth of what we mean when we say cancel culture, which is not so much that there is a rash of angry people running around canceling people. It's that because of our hyper-aware society, public figures have more contact to the public, the general public, than at any time before in human history. And as a result, they are suddenly have far greater opportunities to receive criticism. That's what we're talking about, criticism, than
true.
at any time before. And it turns out they don't like it. Right. So anytime they talk about cancel culture, that's what they mean. They don't wish to be criticized.
Right.
Rightly or wrongly, they don't wish to be criticized. So if you criticize me, it's very easy. We feel these derangements all the time in our personal lives, where it's like if someone keeps doing something that's annoying you and you don't like, it's going to turn you into like the Joker eventually if they keep doing it and don't stop. And that's essentially what's happening to these people on Twitter, where they're turning their whole ideology in the fact they don't like being criticized.
Remington, you were silencing me, and the woke left is silencing me, and I don't have a platform anymore. So buy my book and go to my world tour where I am being silenced.
Yeah, that's always always the fucking joke. God, I hate every comedian. They suck. I just gotta say, I think all of
that's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Every
like,
comedian should be deported.
I'm being silenced. By the way, my tour sold out, and I sold 100 million tickets. So come to my don't come. It's sold out. I'm being silenced.
It's like, no, you're not being silenced. You're just receiving criticism.
Right.
That's all it is.
You're canceling me by my book,
which is like what's so perverse about like we're past the old free speech debates of it. We live in fascism times now, but that was what's so perverse about the old free speech debates, where it's like, So what you're calling canceling is just people criticizing another person. And that guess what? That is free speech. That's protected speech. They're stating their opinion. That's not a lesser kind of speech. Like, you don't have a right to not be criticized in this country. That's like the foundation of speech, that we can disagree. That's one thing that these so-called free speech warriors never got. That was the point. They're supposed to get. That's what they were arguing for.
Then they get like a god complex, like a god victim complex, like the whole Tony Hinchcliffe thing when he came out during the Trump rally and made that joke, and then he does like a special coming out and he's like, yeah, they're trying to cancel me. I said some things. They're like, oh, so brave of you, as he's like making $1 million like on a shitty show.
They canceled me so hard that Netflix gave me a special. I don't know what to do. I don't have a voice anymore. As his fucking back pocket as his $100 million check sticking out.
Did you guys?
I have been harassed with my millions of dollars I'm getting. I have been harassed, and my family has been threatened.
Yeah.
Don't look at my tax returns for this year. Don't look at my
crowd of
poor
people cheering.
My poor Timmy can't afford his nice private school. I have to go to a lesser private school now. That's how bad I've suffered.
God, I can't stand that cocksucker. Andrew Schultz. I hate him. He sucks ass. He's never
Guys, we
said
should go back. We should.
He's-
It's like 11 o'clock. We should close thoughts on the movie real quick.
Sorry,
and
I just wanted to
give it our
excuse-
rating. And Remington has to tell us the movie he's gonna pick.
I just wanted an
We have to-
excuse
we
to
have to
say
go-
all of the people
we
I
have to
hate.
build back better, Dan.
You're right. I'm sorry. Fuck Tim Pool.
We can
You
pull up a
Russian
tangent at
stooge.
another time.
Anyway,
By the way, this is now a political show,
Yeah,
and
that's
we
right.
will be having a round.
welcome to the
Welcome
leftovers.
to
the
the better.
leftovers.
Welcome to the.
I'm
welcome
Ethan
to the better
Klein.
positive. We're like positive America, but good. Anyway,
All right. So yeah. Anyway, closing
Pod
thoughts.
save America, pod damn America. No.
Yeah. Ooh. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. I thought this movie was incredible. I loved it. Really great to just see like a straight talky drama that's really compelling. I'm always compelled by movies that can take place in one location or just have very good dialogue. Just I don't know. I'm very always susceptible to that. So yeah, loved it. Really interesting things looking at the state of the media. Definitely got to check out more Sidney Lumet. I'm giving this one a solid 9 out of 10.
nice.
Yep, it's pretty easy.
EU. Who goes next?
Gene.
Eugene, because I technically leaked my opinion of it in the beginning.
I will say this after this whole discussion, and like I do, just talking about the themes and all that, and all the historical precedents, and especially just talking about Remington, how like how it kind of predicted where news would end up with, you know, infotainment, as we call it, whatever. Like, just that really does have me view it in a better light. That I'm in hindsight more appreciative of now. So I definitely would like to watch it again because, like you both said, maybe a second viewing would be better. I mean, also, you know, maybe I just watched it at a day that maybe I don't know. I wasn't like in a bad mood. I've been pretty, you know, like maybe I just wasn't in the best headspace watching it. Maybe I was just kind of like, you know, not in the mood to watch it. Like I watched it, but like
There are some
you know, maybe I need
movies
to approach
where
it.
it's there are some movies where you find that it's more interesting to talk about than to actually watch. I get that.
Yeah,
I have that all the
so
time.
I do want to watch it
Sure.
again. Right now, I'll give it like a 3 out of 5, just like a holding. But like I do want to watch it again. Maybe watching it with somebody, what you guys would be. But again, even just talking about it really does give me in hindsight. And like I said, I did love the performances. Like from the start, I said the dialogue was incredible, really well written. So yeah, we'll do 3 out of 5 for now.
Okay. Nice.
Then Remy, I don't know. I guess you had a.
I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I quite enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really fascinating to like wrap my head around it, and I thought it had very riveting performances from the central cast and some of the supporting characters too. And it was very well written. And it definitely made me want to see more Sidney Lumet films, this being my third of his that I had seen. I've seen 12 Angry Men, and I also have seen Serpico, starring Al Pacino, which is a really great movie you guys should check out. But yeah, he's done other great ones. I think he did Dog Day Afternoon. He did The Wiz. He's one of the greats, and I definitely want to check out more of his films as a result of this. So I would high praise. Whoever's watching this, definitely recommend go check it out. Especially if you want to get some
Definitely would
more on
recommend it to
Letterboxd
people.
50 stats.
Yeah.
So yeah, good movie.
Yeah, I would recommend it for sure. Like I wouldn't tell people like don't watch it. I'd be like no, like watch it. It's definitely a good watch.
It's a talker.
Go
It's a
check it out.
drama. Yeah, you got to be in the mood.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
all right, Remington.
So
what's-
what? Remy's
what's-
recommendation now.
I believe so. Yes.
Gentlemen. Gentlemen.
Uh oh.
Ooh,
Uh-oh.
Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. So
Remember when we used to
excited.
watch real movies on this podcast?
Oh no,
Only been 6 episodes.
I'm about to
in.
prepare you all
we've only watched like 6 movies.
for a real movie.
Oh,
That's
God,
what we're
here
going
we
to do
go.
this time around.
Have you watched this movie before,
So-
or is this one you haven't watched?
So, all right. Will you let me do the thing?
I'm just curious.
Stop interrupting
Okay,
Do
sorry.
the thing.
You have a script. Sorry.
Not really. I'm freewheeling this, but you're messing with my flow. So in preparing for this, I have specifically, I have not disclosed this with the two of you yet. I have challenged myself in terms of my films that I'm curating for this. I want to be sure to make sure to inject a little bit of genre as we go along, not just keep bouncing around the same old drama comedy beats. And so I was kind of like, oh, what should I do? And so I specifically wanted to choose a Western.
Ooh, okay.
But not just any Western, because I was also like, man, we need to get some good programming here, right? We got to do a real movie, but a real movie that like matches.
Dan
to,
has
like,
a Western on his
the
top 4
times
on
are.
Letterboxd.
And we need a movie. So like, what's buzzy right now? What's going on right now? And I said, well, what just took the lead in the Oscar race? It was Anora. All right. No, Anora just took the lead in the Oscar race. You got to get with the news, dude. Anora won EGA and DGA. That is the death combo, Gene. You got to keep up with the stakes. The horse races.
I have other things going on.
Anyway, you're still interrupting me when I'm doing my pitch.
I'm sorry.
And so I was like, oh, what could go along with that? Anora. How do we get from Anora to Western? Now, Anora is a film kind of about like the questionable ways that we treat women. Now, what is a Western film that's about the questionable ways that we treat women? Well, the answer is all of them, but which one do we zero in on? And then I thought, what is a movie? You know, Dan kind of solved this problem, but when I was originally thinking of this, I was like, I should make sure to pick something that's older. We've been doing a lot of like films from the 2000s and stuff like that. But I'm still going with this, and we're gonna watch a real movie, folks. It will be a Western.
Oh, here we go.
But it ain't gonna be like any Western that you ever saw. That's why, for this pick, we'll be doing the acid Western film, 1970. Alejandro Jodorowsky's El Topo.
El Topo. Wait a minute. I've heard of this.
El Topo.
You ain't ready.
I truly thought you were going to have us
us
watch A Fistful of Dollars.
No, I've seen that too recently.
I know, but Dan, I think it's one of Dan's
predictable.
favorite 4 movies or something.
No,
right?
I love the Dollars trilogy. But no, we're doing this is ain't any type of Western you ever saw.
This ain't your
Think of what I just called it, an
grandma's Western.
acid. Well, actually, it is your
Yeah,
grandma's Western because it came out in 1970. But it's think about that. What I just called it, an acid Western.
Yeah, I actually
I
never
like
heard the
it.
term before. I'm looking.
I thought you
that
were
term
gonna
up real
pick-
quick. Okay.
I thought you were gonna pick the one. I think it's on your top 4.
Oh,
a Western that I really
okay.
want to see called Tampopo or something.
Oh, so that's a Western and like that's not a traditional Western. That's or close to a traditional. We call it a Western because of like some of the tropes it uses and the some of like the set pieces, but it's not so that's not like there's no cowboys in that. You know what I mean? That's not in the Old West. But this is a psychedelic journey into the Old West, and that's
I
what you
love
need
it.
to know as we prepare
Have you watched
for. No, I have not. I've seen one other
Okay.
movie from the director. If you've ever heard of Jodorowsky, it's probably because you've heard about how he famously failed to make a Dune movie back in like the 70s.
Yes, yeah, I did.
And how his failure to make that Dune movie wound up being like very influential in the making of subsequent science fiction films, because basically it was going to be like this huge production, and all the talent that he recruited to try to make the film wound up like they put like a lot of work into it, and even though the film went bust, they still like took their work and like smuggled it into other projects, so you can see like traces of it. There's a really great doc on it, literally called Jodorowsky's Dune. It's an excellent documentary. But yeah, it's he's a really interesting art house director from the 70s, and I thought this would be a great way to because if it's like very fleeting Anora connection. I thought it would be like an interesting way to introduce something maybe a little more challenging to the podcast. I was just being silly before. You've had some good picks, boys. But this is like, you'll see what I mean when you watch this. This is not a
I can
probably
already
not like anything you've ever seen before.
I can already get a sense because I'm looking at Jodorowsky's. I've heard the name before and I've heard this title before. Not a lot, but I do recall hearing it. But the first thing I notice is this guy is also the director of famously YMS's favorite movie, The Holy Mountain, which
I've seen The Holy Mountain.
which apparently, yeah, is a weird one. So I've never seen it, but yeah.
Yes, that
this
Holy
shot-
Mountain is a good movie, but also like I said, like not like any movie you ever saw before. That is a very strange movie. And yeah, so we're
This
doing
shot in
El Popo,
Spanish?
boys.
Is this shot in
I don't-
Spanish?
I don't know. It might be. He's so not by birth, but he did grow up in Chile. Like he's a Chilean by citizenship.
I'm just reading about it, avoiding like the plot, obviously. But so it was shot in Mexico and was selected as Mexico's entry for the best foreign language film. So, all right, the 44th Academy Awards. So, all right, I'm curious. Okay, Remington, I definitely am excited seeing all the people who were influenced by it. So that's cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. Like the Mighty Boosh, which sidebar, does anyone watch the Great British Bake Off and how one of the guys from Mighty Boosh, Noel, he's in that. I don't know if you guys know about that.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
One of the hosts of the Great British Bake Off is Noel from the Mighty Boosh. So I was trying to explain that to Miriam.
Okay.
I was trying to explain that to Miriam, but Miriam has no idea what the Mighty Boosh is. So I was like, okay, how do I explain this to you? Anyway, all right,
Yeah.
cool. I'm excited about this, Remy.
All
Good
right,
pick.
awesome.
This
That'll
is-
be our March
Yeah.
pick after the Oscars. So we'll know who won after that, and I hope it's Anora.
Oh God, I gotta pick something good after Remington makes me watch this movie. Fuck me. Okay.
I still
Well,
have some
I don't know if you're gonna
aces.
like this, Gene, but we'll see what happens.
God, I'm just gonna have you guys watch fucking Ratatouille.
Yeah,
you
I might throw a curveball.
guys
in
wanna watch
there.
a South Park movie? Watch a South Park movie. That'd be my pick.
Yeah, it doesn't have to
Honestly,
Spoiler.
that would be so much fun if you picked bigger, longer, uncut. Or is it deeper, longer, uncut? The
It's bigger,
94
longer,
movie that
uncut.
they did. Yeah, that movie's a lot of fun. I hate South Park, but that movie's a lot of fun. I like the songs in it.
I was talking to Dan about it before when you're having your difficulties because I started watching it yesterday and like I have like a lot of thoughts on it. I haven't seen it in like 20 years, but you know, 'cause I saw it when I was 10, right?
We're gonna have to have a debate about that. You hate South Park anyway, but that'll be another day.
I'm not surprised.
All right.
Yeah, I'm
well,
a South Park hater, born and bred.
Jesus Christ, the real communist. All right. Well, thank you, boys, for the watch. It was fun. So we will see you all, everyone. Patreon.com/Dan Ivy. Follow everyone on the social medias. All right, I'm just gonna end stream and play us out, Gene.
Everyone, go follow me on something that's not Twitter because Twitter's a hellhole. Bye.